It's Friday, Friday. Gotta get down on Friday.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking forward to the weekend. Welcome back to the Near Death Diary. I am your host, Deadeye Two Tongues, and with me, as always, is the faithful Fog Gilly. Counting down to the spooky season, we went and we did some spooky stuff ourselves.
We did.
Yeah, well, at least we tried.
Tried to.
Yeah, we tried. So, are there vampires in Oktoberfest? In the party zone over there at Oktoberfest?
Inconclusive. I saw two guys actually wearing fedoras.
Which everyone knows.
Which is,
universal
suspicious
headwear for a vampire. Universal, but they had reflections. Well, I could say that people seem to be rather confused whenever we ask them about vampires.
Confused or
just
maybe another word for it.
Playing coy?
Yeah, maybe.
Possibly. Yeah, no one really had any sort of confirmation. So we had to adapt.
Had to pivot a little bit.
We had to pivot to still get some spookiness in our travel, in our efforts to find the spooky. And we decided that we were going to do a little good Samaritan act,
making the most out of Oktoberfest. That was just
vampireless. Go figure.
As a festival itself, I got zero spooky vibes. You wanting to be spooked?
I got some serious German vibes.
Yeah. If you want to be spooked, probably don't go to Oktoberfest.
Yeah. Lots of people wearing looked like they were going to go yodel.
I was wearing lederhosen.
Lederhosen.
What are the giant horn things called? I
don't know, but maybe in post.
Yeah, we saw one of those being played.
Yeah, we saw. It was quite the German spectacle out there. But we wanted to still wanted to haul in some of that spooky. So we pivoted, and what we decided to do was we went up and down the vendor lanes, looking for people who had interesting and neat wares, things that really stuck out of the rest of the festival. And we found some artists. We found some kind of punk rock looking vendors with some really good stories. We pivoted and we started asking these guys, hey, in exchange for putting you out there on the interwebs, putting you on our show, can you give us a spooky story? So today you're going to see quite a few really awesome artists, vendors, things like that. You're going to get quite a bit of people you can go and follow on socials. Some really talented individuals who also had some spooky stories to be told. So it was our way of helping small businesses, artists, independent creators, and that was our Oktoberfest, and we invite you guys in on our journey. Some of these highlights that we're about to show you,
and then afterwards. The day after, we went to Mothman Festival to follow up on an interview we had.
Yeah, and that interview will be part of today's episode as well.
Also, after all that and combining the videos and the interview and the IRL from the museum, we were also setting at inconclusive.
Yeah, sure. Now, it did not really bring an end to the wonder.
No, there's gonna have to be more digging and interviewing because things didn't add up.
Yet another return to the Mothman Museum. Some of the story really, it makes sense. It all locks in. Multiple accounts of some very important pieces.
No, I think we had the right museum after finding the pictures online. It's just
swapped
something
out.
was
swapped out
Something was swapped.
This will all make sense by the end. But yeah, that was fun.
It was fun.
Went down there, enjoyed ourselves.
Although, to get in the spooky vibe, I feel like they should extend the hours of this festival to at least be like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Some hours at night, because you get there and then like 6 o'clock, everyone's like, we're done.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it really was just kind of a daytime thing.
I want to go do spooky stuff, and I feel like you almost have to have at least a couple hours of darkness to make it extra spooky.
How many people you think were roaming the TNT district?
I don't know. We drove past, saw like 5 cars coming out that way, but who knows?
The area that we went and we did our IRL investigation of Mothman. Yeah, there was
They have bus tours, but I don't know how that works. I don't know if they just drive you through it, or they let you get out and walk around, or
they ought to have somebody jump onto the roof of to give you the true Mothman experience. Yeah. But no, we had a really good time. Met some people, and then yet again we took that approach. We were asking people if they had Mothman stories. Most people saying no. I think actually everybody said no. But they did in fact have spooky stories of the area or spooky stories to be told. I think we had maybe a few good stories too, though. Not all were just spooky. Some family reaching out from the beyond stories. It was nice, and that's when we realized, we don't necessarily have to go with a script. We can ask all sorts of questions about the subject matter at hand, but when all else fails, hey, do you have a spooky story? Do you have a paranormal story? That's exactly what we do here on the Near Death Diary anyway, right? So we were able to kind of gather quite a few spooky stories, but we got them straight from the horse's mouth. I think you guys are going to enjoy those. Before we get to our scheduled programming, we'd like to remind you guys this is the last day. Super Chatters.
Last of the month.
Last of the month. This will be the last time this month's t-shirt is able to be won with the highest donation in the Super Chat, Near Death Diary podcast. We've had 3 of them given out so far this month, 3 recipients. We'd like to thank you guys. Thank you so much for, giving to us, and this is how we give back. Thank you so much for that.
And also, if you do win the shirt, please email us at
the Hellfire Holler Podcast at gmail.com. Hellfire Holler Podcast at gmail.com. That's also where you can send in stories to be read here on the Near Death Diary podcast. We've been doing this almost 3 months. We've had some phenomenal stories. We suggest you guys take your time. We're in no rush here. Take your time. Get your spooky story out there, or your guardian angel story, your near-death experience story, anything paranormal or anything involving the spirit realm, also stretching into cryptids, UFOs, extra-dimensional beings. All of that flies here on the Near Death Diary podcast. And if you are tuning in for the first time, welcome down there in the chat, the live chat. How are you guys doing? Patreon, how goes it? Thank you guys. If you'd like to subscribe to our Patreon, become a part of our Patreon community, it's Deadeye Two Tongue 740. We're going to put that on the screen right there. Please consider joining one of our tiers. You can read through, see the benefits of each one, and join our growing community. All members of our Patreon have access to our Discord, another growing community, and everybody who is a member of our Patreon, and the live chat seems to be getting along rather fantastically. Many blossoming friendships happening down there. Many like-minded people who are open to the spirit world and love to hear other people's interpretations of the like. Meeting and greeting, becoming friends in our community, and it's absolutely fantastic. We love each and every one of you guys. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for helping us get to these locations that you were about to see, giving us a little bit of extra money for gas and food. That is always appreciated. You do that by subscribing to our Patreon or participating in the super chats in each episode. Thank you guys so much. Also, if you want to see any of your decorations put into our set, you can send those to P.O. Box 264, Gloucester, Ohio 45732. Also, if you are a small business, an entrepreneur, you're a painter, you have knickknacks, music that you like, music that you create, anything of the such, go ahead and send them on over to us. We will try to put that either on our channel or on our Patreon to spread the good word of your creation and maybe help you make some sales. So I think is that all the ados?
I believe so. Let's get into this.
I'm crazy. And if you want to help, you can like and subscribe. You hit that subscribe button. You can hit that notification button. You could share this, comment on it. All of those things go a long way in the world of algorithm and analytics. So make sure that you stop by, leave us a comment on this video, share it. You could even hype the video if you'd like. That's really, really helpful. And we really, really appreciate it. So on to the night's festivities. Let's stoke the flames high on the internet campfire as we take our first steps into our first excursion of the night, Oktoberfest in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Hello, folks. Cody and I are here in Cincinnati, Ohio to go to Oktoberfest, a location rumored to have vampires. That's right. One of the tellers of a previous story on a previous episode had an encounter with what they can only describe as a vampire. Cody and I are here to sniff them out. Two proud V.A.G.I.N.A members taking on Cincinnati. We're going to get inside the gates. We're going to get comfortable. We're going to make an attack plan. And then we're going to start slamming stakes. It's just like super German.
I don't know. It just looks like a fair to me. Who looks like a vampire to you? Other than probably us.
So I'm not going to lie. I had no idea what Oktoberfest was.
I had a vague idea. I mean, I knew it was going to be like drinking stuff, but I didn't.
Yeah, I know that it was commonly like linked to like drinking and stuff, but like the German aspect of it didn't make any sense to me like whatsoever. Like when I got there, I was kind of dumbfounded. And then I was thinking all the way up, like, you know, if this is like a spooky like October theme thing, like why are they doing it in September? You know, like I was like so whenever we walked through the gates and everything, you're like, oh, it looks like a fair to me. It was.
I think our biggest problem was that we put it out there too much that we were going there to hunt vampires.
Yeah.
And unfortunately...
But it was based off a story.
Yeah, but unfortunately the vampires got wind of what we were doing and they probably skipped town for that.
I mean, I'm going to say that has to be a part of it.
That's the only logical explanation that I can think of.
I expected this to be like kind of like, you know, the first scene in Blade. You know, I thought we were like going up there like like we're going to be like throwing stakes out and like, you know.
I was ready.
But like we had so many eye rolls. I mean, so many people like seemingly bothered with us. like just trying to drink.
Yeah, it's not every day that
you know.
Yeah.
With like slight German accents and stuff.
Well, they're probably
like,
just used to it too. They're like, "Oh, the vampires. What are you doing here? Like, leave the vampires alone."
I don't know.
Just hang out.
But it was at that moment I realized that we were pretty much just at a glorified fair. Yeah. There was nothing spooky about it at all.
Not really. I didn't really feel any spooky.
Yeah. Everyone unfortunately was having a really great time. There was no spookiness, and we were just kind of the sore thumbs, you know? But, we'll get over it.
There's a man with a fedora over there. That might be about the closest so far.
You showed up thinking you shouldn't test me. I knew the day. Did you forget it was my birthday? But I didn't know it was that day.
We do a podcast called Near Death Diary Podcast.
Okay.
And we had a lead. Someone wrote us in a story about an Oktoberfest in the past where we had an encounter with a vampire.
Okay.
So, first and foremost, I guess I would ask, have you guys ever had any experiences or anything of the paranormal at Oktoberfest?
Hey, this is
Especially-
the first time I've been here in,
First time?
in years.
Yeah.
Years.
Yeah.
We've only been here for a couple days.
Yeah.
I was like, I know they said every once in a while there's a crackhead that'll come by and try to steal the copper wires, but that's about the scariest thing that we've had to deal with.
I mean, that's a lead. You know, maybe it was a crackhead, not a vampire. From the story, you know, that actually might make sense.
They got security every night that comes by that sits right here and checks the copper wires in particular because he's like, every year some crackhead tries to steal the wires.
That sounds like back home in Appalachia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all that I've heard or seen so far.
Right on. Well,
Yeah.
the second question would be, we do a podcast called the Near Death Diary Podcast. And what the whole premise of our show is, we have people who have had a paranormal experience,
Okay.
or some kind of ghost, UFO, or something like that. But we give them a voice. We let it be told, and we put that on the
that's
internet
cool,
to
yeah.
across all platforms, about 1 million followers.
Hey, that's awesome.
You know, so if you guys have any paranormal stories whatsoever that you guys
Maybe him. I'm like,
I will say, I have call it paranormal. It's actually a really calming experience. My wife and I sometimes do like a meditation, just quiet moments. And at one time, about 2-3 months ago, I was thinking about my grandfather. He was from Egypt, so like extremely different culture. And as a kid, when I was growing up, he like showed me all like stuff in Arabic. He showed me hieroglyphs and things. And I got that same like feeling of when I would go visit him and like kind of feel like his presence and stuff like that. And I actually saw like in my mind it's called the Eye of Horus, that like Egyptian style like hieroglyph, and it like flashed real quick, super sharp, super clear, and I felt really calm and really positive. And I told my wife about it, and she's like, it's not just a coincidence.
Yeah, so you think that was like your grandfather kind of
maybe just
stretching
his
his
spirit.
influence from the other side, kind of.
Yeah, just a touch, just let me know, still there.
Utilizing something that he knew you would remember from.
recognize.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, we get just as many really like empathetic, beautiful like stories from beyond
Yeah.
than we do, kind of the terrifying shadow people and all that stuff. So we appreciate you sharing your story. What's your name?
I'm Zach.
Zach. My name's Deadeye. This is Gilly. Yeah.
Nice to meet
How's it
you.
going?
I'm Aaron.
Aaron.
Nice to meet
Deadeye.
you. Yeah,
Aaron.
nice to meet
This
you,
is
Deadeye.
Gilly.
Nice to meet you, Gilly.
So this guy had kind of an uplifting story, and it was a nice start to the night. He didn't really have much in the way of like a scary story, but him talking about his grandfather communicating from the great beyond.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of what I was talking about like the other week, where I had that dream
Yeah.
like on my birthday and with
Mhm.
my grandpa. So it was pretty uplifting.
Yeah. It's nice whenever like a family member or something reaches out to like remind you, and the way they go about it, is teeming with like memory that maybe the two of you hold. I think that is great evidence
Yeah.
of the great beyond.
And fortunately, they had no vampire interactions.
Right, but
Although,
crackhead interactions though.
yeah,
You know.
but could a vampire be mistaken? or a crackhead?
I don't know.
You got pale, skinny.
I don't know because
Maybe he's got blood. Maybe he just got blood on him.
what would a vampire want with copper? You know,
I mean, he's got to make money, right?
He's probably ancient.
Yeah, and he's probably learned that that's probably the best way to.
How about stocks and bonds? You know,
Well, you gotta start somewhere. You gotta. Maybe he lost it all. Maybe he did that and he lost all.
Real estate.
Gotta.
You can't tell me that a vampire that's been around several hundred years hasn't acquired some sort of wealth.
Listen, everyone has pitfalls where they're doing really good and then fall off. So maybe he needed the.
I don't know. I think it's a bit of a stretch.
Needed the copper. He's
back
to ground zero.
I think it's a stretch. I think it's a stretch.
So in 2017, kind of what sparked my my passion for doing what we're doing now is that I was murdered in 2017, and I died, and I came back and had a whole fucking experience, but Big Pharma was kind of fucking me up real bad.
Oh yeah.
So I turned to herbal medicine, became a phytochemist and a mycochemist, and started making different tinctures and things like that helped me in my recovery. And people who have given us stories, we're giving them a free product. So this is our Cordyceps militaris. All right. That's great for energy support. Cordyceps are used by the Chinese in the Olympics. Helps increase oxygen levels in your blood from 30 to 50%. Helps with mental clarity. Helps with endurance. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's our way of saying thank you for being on our show, man. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. It's sealed and everything.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep
and you can go to hellfireholler.com. It's on the bottle.
Okay.
You see that we're
we'll take a look.
fucking legit, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So we appreciate you guys. This is our podcast. It's the Near Death Diary podcast, and then if you follow us here, you'll be able to see all the other platforms that we do.
Okay.
Everything else.
Yeah. We'll have to check you out.
Yeah. All right, we're here with
Lance.
fellow we just met, named Lance, and he's a vendor here at the event. Asked him if he had a story that he could share. We're gonna let you take it away, my friend.
All right. So I'm a skateboarder around here, and I've been skating for like 20 years, right? And there's this skate park. It was like world famous. It closed down, but it's called Ollie's Skate Park, and you can Google it, look it up, and you'll see tons of pictures of the place. It's huge, like 200, like almost 300 square foot warehouse. Used to be FedEx, but huge skate park. Anyway, when I was 18, I saw it the first time. Like I always wanted to work there. All the people that worked there talk about the Ollie's ghost.
Yeah.
And the fucking like the shadowy figure you'd see at the top of the stairs as you close to the end of the night and shit. And I'm like, oh, okay. But then there was one fucking night where like I wasn't even working there yet, and they would have all night skate sessions. So they would you'd come in there at 7 o'clock at night, stay till 7 in the morning. And the guy that owned it, awesome dude, really cheap. So like a drunk driver or something hit a power line right across the street, and it knocked out all the fucking power to this warehouse. So now it's pitch black in there. Like you're gonna die trying to skate anything. You can't see.
Yeah.
And he still tried to keep it open. He's like, if you want to skate, you can. So there was like 20 of us left, and we're like, okay, let's figure this out. So we're like, how are we gonna skate? Let's get our flashlights and shit, film a spot. And then we ran out of battery for that. And then once we ran out of fucking light, we're like, okay, let's play hide and seek tag. And so now we're playing hide and seek tag in this place, and I've heard stories of this fucking thing. And in the very back of the park, there was a locked off fence, and it was like a boxing gym area. Anyway, I just started, I'm laying down, and it's about 100 feet away from me to the back of the building, and I just start hearing like a faint beeping. I'm looking over, and it's a fucking rectangle, like a digital alarm clock's going off in a warehouse with no power.
Oh,
And then I'm like, what the fuck's that doing? I'm staring at it for a second. And then if you've ever seen like the old DVD screen like logo where the DVD like goes and bounces between the frames and the screen, this thing started in the dark. I can't prove it's floating, but it's moving, and it's just doing that zigzag, like beeping, going off. I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh, no shit. So was it like lit? Like it itself had a light presence?
It was an alarm clock going off, and it was moving up and down like through the back of the park. That's so later on in life I was working there, and I was closing down, and like I would hear shit there all the time. I would stay like late, stay the night, and when you turn off all the lights, it's an old building. You hear creaking and shit, and I would just sit there and taunt it, you know, because I was like, I don't believe in that shit. And you know, you hear like clanky, you're like, shut the fuck up, you know.
Yeah.
And it kind of responded like another like ding ding, like maybe it's a bird. And then I turned off all the lights. 7 in the morning now, so there's a little bit of light coming through to the doors.
Yeah.
As I'm locking the doors, I see that little shadowy figure that's at the top of the stairs. We all think maybe it's an optical illusion or something. But now I heard a fucking bang, like as I locked the door towards the back of the park. I'm like, okay, it's now, you know, by myself, but I'm still like, I'm not scared. This is normal.
Did you go back in and look?
Well, you have to go to the back of the building to set the alarm and leave.
Yeah.
And now I'm skating like towards the back, and I can see my shadow. I'm rolling on a skateboard past the bay doors, and then there's a fucking shadow of a human being that I'm passing somebody else. And I was like, I freaked out, and I was like, fuck, you know?
Oh, God.
And I'm just like, okay, there's gonna be something at the end of this hallway, and where the door is, there is a hallway that takes you back to the park, and I'm just fucking scared now. I get to the door. As soon as I hit that corner, I thought I was gonna see something. I don't know how to explain it. Like you see kind of like a little bit of an aura for a second, and then it was like boom, boom, and it dipped around the corner. But all the skateboard banners that were chained to the fences and shit, all just fucking flew around the corner with it. Fucking made everything shake that wasn't like tied down.
No shit.
Yeah.
So do you think this is a negative spirit, a positive spirit?
I have no clue. I think maybe it's just like an old skateboard dude likes to fuck with people that died. There's rumors that place, there was a chemical shower in there that we never understood what was there for.
Yeah.
We have no idea. We just
maybe it had like a history of like,
maybe there was a workplace accident. Maybe somebody
turned. Oh yeah.
But
so what did your gut tell you though? If you I mean, you said it might be a skateboard guy. Like, is that
what my gut tells me is that I don't know, this thing like to scare the shit out of people.
Yeah, it's like kind of prankster like energy type shit.
It felt dangerous to me.
Dangerous.
Yeah.
So that's at Ollie's skate park here in Cincinnati?
Yeah, and there's multiple stories from multiple people. There's like 10 or 20 people I know that have their own instance and their own stories about this fucking thing.
Yeah.
Nah, it's kind of neat.
That's something we'll have to look into too then, man. Like, Ollie's here in Cincinnati. See, that's the great part is that we always like, we get a breadcrumb, right? Like, you know, and now it's like, we'll have this on camera and we'll be like, yeah, let's check out Ollie's and see if we can't. Maybe we'll end up finding some of those people that you were talking about. That's pretty, so I take it you're a believer in the paranormal.
Yeah, I've got like childhood stories. And I'm like, okay, that's real.
Yeah.
Getting hit in the head in the basement with like fucking little CO2 cartridge that comes across the room when you're the only one home. You're like, how did
a little paintball gun or something?
No, like a little canister.
Yeah,
you sit there and try to do the math. Like, did it roll off the table? And like, no, it fell through.
Well, that's crazy, brother.
Shit doesn't just fly.
Well, Lance, you got any social media that you'd like to plug, my dude?
I have a skateboarding Instagram. I just post a lot of skateboarding videos.
Yeah, let it rip, man.
It's just at Lance Donnerberg.
Donnerberg, you want to spell that out for people?
It's at Lance _ Donnerberg, DONNERBERG.
Awesome. Hell yeah, dude.
All right, so this guy's talking about a huge indoor skate park called Ollie's. Now, I grew up with a whole bunch of friends from Cincinnati. You know, the Tims who I talk about in a lot of like my tortured tattoo tales from the past that you could see on my TikTok. You know, the Tims, or at least one of the Tims, Tim, was from Cincinnati. My girlfriend at the time in college, you know, was from Cincinnati. The whole gaggle of people that I rolled with was from Cincy. And so I heard of Ollie's at some point, somewhere down the grapevine. I'm going to say it was from college, but a lot of my friends, you know, myself included, skated growing up, and I'd heard of Ollie's quite a bit. So whenever this guy was like, yeah, there's this place, Ollie's, I guess it's closed down now, but a massive indoor skate park. It was like, maybe I had heard it from, we have Skatopia around here. So like a lot of people and big time skateboarders and whatnot come from all over to come to Skatopia. So I know that I've heard of this ghost that he's talking about. And when he was talking about it, it sounded so familiar. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. I was trying to make sense of what he was saying by like the alarm clock. The only thing I really pulled from that was that there was an alarm clock that by all means shouldn't have power.
that and moved around or whatever. So
Yeah, something of that nature. And that was like his first experience with this. But then he had the second experience, which was the one, if you pay attention, he seemed really, really like rattled by. And, you know,
it was really interesting about that one is like we didn't even. He came up to like bum a cigarette.
yeah.
and then
yeah.
and then like just
And we were like, well,
within
no,
just a
you know.
small. Hey, you got a story? Yep. Awesome.
Can we bum a story? It's kind of how that
Yeah.
went. And yeah, and he sat down and he told a pretty good story. And this is whenever it really started dawning on me, like, you know, this is just like what we do on the Near Death Diary, except we're just here, like in the flesh, talking to people.
Yeah, it was like a nice change of things, getting it like right from them.
Yeah,
Because I think you get a little bit more of like their physical reactions to what they saw.
It is like really cool to like see the passion, or like in this case the fear, like the person actually like still kind of pulled with them, that had lingering on them. Like this story was something that they clearly, experienced. It's cool, like, your senses, whenever you are taking in a story, that you're hearing, by us telling it, is much different than someone who experienced it telling it for themselves. You can see kind of the excitement and the little like remaining fear left in Mr. Lance. And Lance, thank you, if you're watching this, for telling us your story.
Could it have been a vampire?
Possibly. I did think, that maybe he was trying to, come up and, just kind of test the water. And then
you think he was a vampire?
Yeah, I think Lance, in fact, was a vampire.
Dang.
Yeah. Just my gut instinct, my vagina was throbbing, so yeah. But I mean, luckily, it didn't come down to, having to get ugly. Vagina didn't have to, take a beating or give a beating out. So yeah, you're lucky, Lance. You're lucky.
Well, you look like the type of dude who might take what? Would you rather have a tincture? Like, so we're an herbal company as well. So in 2017, after I was shot, I started a herbal company called Hellfire Holler. Yeah. And I started relying on plant and fungal medicine over top of big pharma. And that's what really, really helped me. Yeah. And, so we brought some tinctures and stuff from our company, but we also brought beanies. Like, then they're kind of like this, but they have the horns right here. Would you rather have a beanie or a tincture?
I got a lot of hats, and I never had a tincture. I'll go for a tincture.
You want a tincture? Sweet, man. Awesome. So this is our company. This is Hellfire Holler. This is Cordyceps militaris. So Cordyceps is pretty awesome. I don't know if you know much about mushrooms, but Cordyceps, you're a smoker. That'll help increase your lung capacity anywhere from 30 to 50%. It also helps draw in oxygen, makes your oxygen more efficient in the body. Right? So everything happens for a reason, my dude. But yeah, that's going to help just performatively. It helps. It's a little bit like coffee, but it's a non-stimulant. It actually more performs off of drawing in the oxygen at more of an efficient rate, and it has a tendency to make you feel like you did in fact have a cup of coffee, but you just had a mushroom, man. Yeah, but that's our company, Hellfire Holler. You can check us out online. That we have a online store and everything. In case you do like that, you can go check that out.
Hell yeah, dude.
But yeah, man, the dosage. Just draw 2 droppers full of that, and then put it right underneath your tongue and let it absorb in. You should feel it kick in within about a half an hour, dude.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad I tried to bum a cig off.
Hell yeah, dude. I'm glad you did too, dude. Hell yeah, Lance. You fucking awesome, brother. Well, we really appreciate you, man. Do you mind if we put you on our podcast?
I don't care at all.
Cool, brother. It's about, between all the platforms, about 1 million people. So, yeah, brother.
Hot podcast, guys.
Yeah, it's the Near Death Diary. You want to shout us out? Near Death Diary.
The Near Death Diary.
Hey, that's what's up, dude. All right, bro. Lance, it was awesome, brother.
Thank you.
Take it easy, man. We're a story.
Yeah, man.
We're going to check out Ollie's.
Check it out.
Yeah. So I'm here with Taylor, who's got a story, and we're going to let you take the floor here. Tell us about your paranormal story.
So my paranormal story is kind of one that I'm sure everybody's somewhat heard before, whoever has old grandparents that are still alive. My grandparents lived in Darlington, Wisconsin, and my mom has always told me stories about how their house was haunted by somebody named Butch. So when I got older, I dove into it a lot more because I was morbidly curious about everything that happened. So Butch's parents built the house, and this is an old house. It even had like pathways through the walls, and like it was creepy. It was a creepy house. There was one room that was haunted that all of us refused to sleep in because anytime you would like wake up in a cold sweat. It would be gross. My dad always had to sleep in it, and he would be like, every single morning. So basically, Butch got in a lot of trouble, and it was either go to Vietnam or go to jail, and he chose to go to Vietnam where he was killed. And they always said that Butch came back to the house. And basically my mom would tell stories about her dad running upstairs furious with them for like bouncing a tennis ball against the wall, and they would all be asleep. Or my mom and her sisters would be downstairs, and it would sound like dropping marbles, and nobody else would be home, and they'd be like, oh, it's Butch. Like, oh shit, it's Butch again. So my experience there, basically anytime you were in the bathroom, it felt like you just felt like somebody was behind you. Like he wasn't, he wasn't like a malevolent like presence. It was just kind of like, go away. Like that kind of thing.
It's awkward. You're like trying to pee and stuff.
Yeah, and it's like a powder pink bathroom, and you're like, this guy's a pervert, a criminal and a pervert. So basically, the other experience I had, and I would tell all my little cousins that it was haunted. I'm like, oh my god, which was like fun being the older cousin. My little cousin would always sleep with me, and I was laying down, and I was taking a nap one morning, and I felt like her crawl into bed next to me, and I rolled over to like grab her and like put my arm around her because she was like a little snuggle bug, and nobody was there, but you could see like the indents. And I was like, nope, and like got up and left right away. Another time I had laid down and I closed the window because there was a dog outside barking, fell asleep, woke up to like loud barks, going crazy, and I had our dog in the room. That's the dog that was barking. And that's why I closed the window, so it wouldn't be a back and forth. Dog was going nuts. I woke up, the window's wide open. That's when I was like, well, I can't sleep here anymore. Eventually, both my grandparents had passed, my grandpa first. Once my grandma passed, we like went through the house to do all of that kind of stuff. And it was probably not helpful that my grandpa fought in World War II, and it was just chock full of Nazi memorabilia that he plucked off the dead Nazis. So not only was it Butch, but it was also like probably the worst ghost ever.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Like really gross. So that's my story that I have. I don't really think that I have any other ones. If I do, I'll reach out to you and let you know.
Sure. So that's kind of interesting, just to like, because a lot of times people are under the impression that like where a spirit or a person passes away, like, he dies in Vietnam, but he comes home. That's pretty interesting, because a big part of our podcast is trying to like utilize all of these stories, to kind of put everything together. And it's crazy that he would have died thousands of miles away, but
it was like, I better go home.
Manifests home. How do they do that? Like, what do they travel to? So that's really, really cool.
Like to not haunt the place where you die or the place where you're buried, but to haunt the place where you were like the most significance in your life.
Most at home.
Creepy.
That's pretty amazing. Well, okay, so thank you for telling your story.
Of course, anytime, guys.
We are sitting in her merch booth. Your merch booth?
Yeah, this is my permanent jewelry booth. I'm located here in Cincinnati. It's called Arch, A-R-C-H, and Charm. And I do parties, pop-ups, events. I'm based out of Kit Salon in Fort Thomas, so I'll be there. Awesome. You guys can follow me on Instagram. It's at ARCHXCHARM. So Arch X Charm.
Awesome. Yeah, guys, go give her a follow. Thank you so much for...
You're so welcome. So,
this chick was pretty cool. It was funny afterwards. Like, I guess we just kind of bonded because she came running to me and Cody like, there's a spider on my tent. And we're like, oh, so I guess something about us. If we can stand in the face of vampires and demons, then we could probably handle a spider. But yeah, she was nice. She was very sweet, and we helped her put her tent back together, and spared her having to deal with the arachnids of the world, which I didn't. The one I saw was like, it was questionable whether or not it was even a spider. But I did grow up with a sister who has arachnophobia, so I totally get that. You know, my sister has called me panicking on the side of a highway because of a mite, literally like a little itty bitty baby thing. So I totally get being scared of spiders. But her story, you know, that's one thing that I've always thought was pretty interesting. How do spirits get from point A to point B? I highly doubt that they have to walk across oceans or fly across oceans or whatever. You know, her story was kind of a testament to a spirit had passed away in a different location, but somehow made its way all the way back home from across seas. You
Yeah, it's
know,
weird.
how do spirits do that?
Be
You know,
like attached to objects or places, and
I'm not
we've
sure.
all heard of like haunted objects and stuff. And
I think that they can just kind of pass in between. I think that like they just kind of shift between the two worlds. I don't think that time and space is anything that restrains them. I really don't, nor physical barriers, or anything like that. I mean, how many times have you seen a ghost seemingly pass through a wall or move? Who knows how that works? But I know that they essentially kind of punch in and out of our reality. Maybe being able to utilize time and space itself. But it is pretty neat that her ghost was able to shift all the way from Vietnam to her location. Pretty interesting stuff.
All right, so I'm here with Becca Marie. Becca Marie, we're in your tent right now. What is your...
So my business is Succulent Senorita Greenhouse. I'm a very proud Mexican minority-owned business, and then I just started my salsa line.
Awesome.
So I sell plants and salsa.
Hey, that's awesome. Hell yeah. So you say a paranormal story. You say it's brief and maybe it didn't happen to you, but you know of it.
Yes, for sure.
So
Yes.
let's take a listen.
Yes. So I live in Covington, Kentucky, and I run an event space called the Leaping Lizard, and there's a female ghost there and a male ghost there. And somebody was having a birthday party, and they had a tarot card reader, like psychic there, and she was upstairs, and all of a sudden we heard a big loud crash in the basement hallway, and we went, and chairs that are on racks that can't be moved all of a sudden were all thrown down the stairs.
Oh.
And she came, we asked her, she saw us freak out, and she asked what happened, and I said, oh, just chairs. She said, no, something bad happened, didn't it? And then she went down and said the ghosts were mad because she wasn't talking to them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so but he makes noise. There's the guy ghost, he makes noise whenever I have a new male employee. He tries to scare him.
We hear that a lot, like male energy kind of getting agitated with other male energy.
Yeah.
So, but the physical, the tangible, like especially, we hear that type of stuff a lot. Like, hey, there's almost no way that this could have just fallen off a shelf.
There's no way.
Had to be picked up, levitated, and thrown.
Yeah. I've been the manager for over 10 years there, and I know that place inside out.
So how does that make you feel, knowing that it's capable of picking up something?
It's scary, but he's always been protective of me, like I said. So whenever I have a new male employee, he makes his presence known.
Yeah.
And we nickname her Sassy Candy. She lives in the basement. She's very quiet. She likes us to leave her gifts. So I'm very respectful of it. And I think as long as I'm respectful to them, they hopefully won't mess with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why. So have you looked up any of the history of?
Yeah. So apparently, and that psychic, when that happened, said that we're an old Methodist church, and she said that unfortunately I don't know if they're called priests or whatever, used to have prostitutes come in. So the female downstairs is a prostitute.
Oh, wow.
And she's stuck there. And then she said that the male upstairs was one of the priests that was very much against it. And so he's staying there very angry.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that priest is angry with men because of what men did
to her, I think. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild. Is that the gut feeling you get?
Oh, for sure. He's very protective of me. He doesn't scare me. She's always been nice to me. I leave her little gifts. And
So did you get that gut feeling before you knew the actual history?
Oh, I definitely knew something was there the first day I walked in. I knew something was there. But I didn't feel... I was afraid, of course, because anytime you feel an energy, it's a little unnerving, but I wasn't ever, like, afraid. Like, I'm not afraid to be there by myself.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But a lot of the people who work for me are.
Yeah. That's one of the things we try to do is like kind of like even get into like how it is we understand and how we gain understanding. Some people, of course, are more susceptible. Some people just seem to inherently do it, but it's almost like these pictures get created in our head. These, we have these like feelings, and so much of it is like this echo of vibration of the past. Is that what spells it out in our head? Is that what makes it visible? So it's interesting, kind of like dive in and try to pull how you figured out.
Oh, for sure. Well, like when my sister was passing, we saw her like look up at spirits, and she was smiling and she was nodding.
Yeah.
And I believe that so much, and I can't believe that if I don't believe that the evil isn't there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's light, there's dark.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, she's right. Without dark, there is no light, and vice versa. Yin
and yang.
That is something I 100% believe in. And it takes a mature person to kind of come in and cope on that.
Yeah.
As much as we want there to not be evil in this world, that's what gives us a moral compass. And I think that you have to. I think in order to be susceptible to the other side, that is something that you have to understand long before dipping your toe in. But yeah, I liked the story. I liked how she was able to pick up on it. I like how before she had any real understanding of the history, she had an understanding of what had lived that history there. It's pretty neat.
Hot sauce was pretty good.
Yeah, and she was a spicy mama.
Somehow
she made some good ass salsa.
Somehow their Reaper sauce was not very hot.
Well, you dilute anything enough, Reaper does. We were talking about this. It has a very distinct flavor that you do taste, and is nice, in my opinion. I really, really like the taste of Reaper. But when the capsaicin kicks in, when that spice hits, you no longer have taste buds. So it's something you get to taste in brief. But in this, it really embodied the taste of the Reaper pepper without the intensity of the heat. It was pretty delicious. That's an art form. Making a good salsa is an art form.
Yep.
Making a good hot sauce, as you guys know, Cody and I love making hot sauce. It is in fact an art form, and I really enjoyed it. She was awesome. I absolutely loved her. She was a great talker. Great saleswoman, and you guys should go follow her on socials. Before we jump into our last interview for the night, our last story with a fellow that I felt it absolutely necessary to get on our channel because his art is absolutely exquisite, and his storytelling through his art is just top notch. I really, really like this guy. I would like you guys to go to hellfireholler.com for any of your herbal necessities, any of your supplement needs. You can go give us a look over there at hellfireholler.com. We also have merch. You guys can support the channel. Also, if you guys would like for us to go out into the world and do more IRL experiences like this, you can go to our Patreon. It is Deadeye Two Tongues 740. You could support us over there. And if you guys haven't yet, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave us a comment on this video. That being said, on to the last interview.
Why don't you say your socials one more time?
My Facebook is Succulent Senorita Greenhouse NKY, and then my Instagram is Succulent Senorita Greenhouse.
Awesome. So guys, go give her a follow. Thank you for your story.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for giving us a little bit deeper dive into the paranormal.
Next time you're in Covington, you'll have to stay the night over at the church and see.
Absolutely. We love making these connections, and we'll probably reach out to you, because we have your social on here. Mm-hmm. We'll probably reach out to you. Hey, we're the Appalachia boys that came out.
For sure. I love it. Yeah.
So we'll get a hold of you, and that sounds great because we love coming up and getting the breadcromes of haunted places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, of course. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
I appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. All right, so I'm here with Mike Madak, and we are in his booth right here. This really, really caught my eye. I mean, this guy's work, I could not stop staring at it while passing. Just absolutely incredible, and we can get into his art here in a second. We asked him if he had any sort of little tales or experiences, and he said that he did, and we're gonna give him a little floor right here.
Okay. I never really tell ghost stories, but like, I never had this dream. It wasn't really a dream, but I woke up in the middle of the night. I had trouble sleeping in the night, and I would think about things and think about certain people. And then I noticed that the person I was thinking about really wasn't them. It was actually like this shape-shifting demon that would try to crawl in the bed and whisper to me. And I caught it before it got into my bed. And it got so mad that I saw it.
Oh, wow.
And it crawled itself into a corner and tried to make itself real small.
So
And
this is recent.
a couple months ago.
Yeah. So we hear stuff like that, because we take in a lot of stories. The premise of our platform is we kind of have people write in, and it's from all over the world. And what that sounds really, really similar to is people's experience with like either like the Hat Man or like a sleep paralysis, like demon, which has never it's never really been something where we've heard stories where people have been like hurt or attacked, but like high energy and like the ability to like manipulate like certain things.
I was able to sleep initially, but then I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I would know like I'd be fine, but then I knew something would creep in.
Yeah.
And we couldn't get sleep.
Now, was that at any specific time by chance?
Well, I mean, I guess you want to talk about witching hour. What is that, like, 1 to 3 or something? Like,
3 o'clock.
The idea, like, the borders between realities are, like, thinner or whatever. Things can project itself.
Yeah, so we hear that all the time, and it's funny how many stories consistently come in 3 o'clock in the morning, or close to it, but we're skeptics at the end of the day, too, we don't just believe everything that is said, or we try to, maybe rationalize it, something occurring in the human brain or what have you. I'm always like, what about like, like time zones and stuff? It's like,
oh yeah,
how does the witching hour work? Like 3 o'clock in the morning here versus 3 o'clock in the morning, like over here. Like, where is the true witching hour happening and occurring? You know what I mean? So I always thought that was like funny, but it is cool to ask those same questions and see if trying to draw.
I think it would be like we all have our own reality, and then we have a shared reality, and we all try to communicate through it. So whatever that witching hour is for you, I mean, maybe it's not. Maybe it adapts itself to the individual and the reality.
Yeah. I'm a big believer that brainwaves have like actual like fit, like albeit like maybe small, and then you have some people who you can just like tell they have like larger brainwave, like, or something, more of an impact or something. But like there's definitely like when groups of people get together and essentially in this case, a bunch of people conceding to the structure of time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With maybe what's given that power or whatever. But
it gets complicated. But some places do daylight savings.
Right. It's super wild. But yeah, the weight of the human mind and how they all converge and stuff has always been super fascinating to me. And I knew, looking at this stuff, I'm like, this guy thinks different. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Artists typically do.
Yeah.
That's why I really wanted to get yours. So if you could say what you think that is, like if your gut feeling of what came into the room, like what would you say? Like if you had to give like a spoken word analysis.
If I was getting like an analytical, like more like book science version of it, or like, because I like the magic. Magic sounds so
right.
Magic is so much more fun.
Yeah, right.
We can get technical on it.
Right.
I can like say, it's a projection, my own insecurity in the form of this, and like it's instead of like blaming myself or blaming something else, but it's really my fault.
So were you in like a high emotional state at the time when that was happening?
Oh, probably at high emotional state most times anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like saying that high emotions is animalistic. I don't think so at all. I mean, that's when the artistic flow happens.
Right.
You're in that state.
So when the best music happens, so like the highs and lows.
Mike, what do they call it? Ruminating, when you're creating that movie in your head, when you're visualizing things. I mean, I've been doing that since a kid, and I and then projects into my work. So it's I don't know. I sometimes, I guess, if I don't focus my energy on artwork, it can be focused on things that could be considered negative. Yeah. But
And-
the artwork has been a positive outlet for whatever that energy is.
So would you, if you like true manifestation of something tangible in our world, or do you think maybe in your head hallucination?
No, I felt like I'm writing a story, and in the story, I don't know how much it ties into what it could actually be. I feel like when I saw it, I could pull it into my reality, and I had control over it.
Oh wow!
Like when the illusion was there, it was doing its tricks from wherever it was,
Or doing your tricks?
Maybe it is a version of me that is like maybe whatever it was. That the illusion fell, and it's like I know when those thoughts come, I'm like, okay, it's that shape-shifting demon again, or it's just that thought. But it's like once you see it, you know what it is, and like you can just be like psychological about it. Oh, it's like this negative brain waves or whatever, or thought patterns, but like. Thought patterns, shape-shifting dwarf, trollish demon. It's all the same, right?
That is the coolest perspective I think we've got.
Yeah, does it matter? Does it matter what it is?
It truly doesn't, man. Yeah. Well, that was awesome. What a cool perspective. Like out of to I think end our night. I think you're probably going to end up being, unless we get some stragglers or something. But that was awesome. I was sorry to pester you, but
no, this is fun.
I knew that would be.
Dude, I saw you. I'm like, oh, I'm doing this. I'm fucking doing this.
Yeah. So absolutely amazing art. Is there like a website? Is there Instagram?
I have my card right there.
Yeah, I'll take this with me if that's cool. And then we'll feature this on the show. We'll do
this is one of my newest ones right there. It's
sweet. I'm gonna have Cody go through and have him do some close-ups and stuff on that. Do you have an Instagram?
It says M-Maydak, MMAYDAK.
Awesome.
Is Instagram.
Yeah, we're gonna make sure that he gets like all of his socials and stuff. We're gonna put them like right here. You guys can go and check him out and follow him. Give him a follow because this is really, really awesome artwork. We're gonna put some of his artwork right after this exchange. Thank you so much, dude. We really, really appreciate it. We hope that you're successful tonight and moving forward for the rest of the weekend. Your art's definitely fucking killer, man. I hope people at least get to experience it and see it because it's really cool standing in your brainwaves, bro. It's cool. Yeah. So awesome, Mike. Pleasure to meet you, bro. Yeah. Thank you so much for giving us your story.
Yeah.
Awesome. Mike, his brain. I passing by there, I knew that if that guy had a spooky story, if you will, or just a story in general, that it would come with some quirkiness or some new layer of thinking, and I nailed it. He wasn't quite sure with what it could have been. You could tell, but there was a nonchalantness to it, like an acceptance of it. Allowing it to kind of permeate into his art and his creative mind, which I absolutely loved. It sounded like if we were to, compare it to anything that we've experienced on the channel up until now, it kind of sounded like a sleep paralysis type demon, or like a Hat Man type situation, but the creature walking off to almost sulk, like that's the funny part about it.
Yeah, it's kind of almost like if you don't give it the fear that it wants, it kind of loses some power.
But his projection, or him saying that it very well could have been a projection of like him, like and it, having watch it over again and really dissect it as what he's saying. It's kind of a humble way to embrace the mystery of it. He not once like gave it much energy at all, but he also questioned whether or not it was completely embodied by his energy.
Yeah.
Was that a manifestation of me? Was that something that I was creating that I needed to see, or but to hear his nonchalantness of it, I like that calmness. I like that surrendering to the mystery. I like that openness. It was just really cool. And I think that reflects deeply in the man's art. And speaking of his art, just absolutely awesome. Like, this is a character he developed, and it's been like a week since I went, so I don't remember the exact premise, but this guy almost like acts like, if I remember to put it into my words, almost like somebody who helps keep you spiritually aligned, your ego in check. He's got these just really neat spins on like his characters. They're kind of blocky and geometric, like they're just so creative. This is my favorite one. Tell me you wouldn't read a graphic novel or like watch an animation by this guy. Just the coolest, man. And I was glad to have been able to meet him. And Mike, thank you for participating in our episode tonight, man. I hope people flock to your social media and check out your art, because it's just absolutely amazing.
So that was the last.
That was the last
interview of
Oktoberfest
Oktoberfest.
Yeah. So, what'd you guys think? That was, we had to adapt. Like I said, there wasn't a lot of people, who were I guess able to give any sort of confirmation on the vampires.
There was also like a pickleball tournament, and if you know anything about vampires,
yeah,
they hate pickleball, so that might be a reason why we
didn't have any luck.
Yeah.
But the pivot, I think two people who have like large platforms have the capacity to help other people get their products and, enrich their life with their dedication to their craft. I think that that's always a good cause, and we got stories out of it, and that's what we do here. We take people's stories from the internet. That was the reason we were led to Oktoberfest, a story that we were following up, and just because, we could not confirm does not mean we can deny.
These vaginas are flexible.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. If you're confused, if you're tuning in for the first time, V.A.G.I.N.A is our paranormal. It's our vampire paranormal team. It stands for Vampire Analysis Group for Investigation into Nocturnal Affairs. And I mean, it just happened to spell vagina. It was an accident. We didn't mean to do that in no way, shape, or form. Did we think it was quirky or cute or funny?
Nothing funny about hunting vampires.
Right? It's serious business. And I don't think that there's anything funny about it. And if you're laughing, it just shows your maturity. It shows that you're immature. Okay? Like, we're
super serial over here.
Yeah, we're trying to do God's work out there. Prevent you guys from getting sucked. Get your blood sucked.
I think we did a good job.
I think we did too.
I mean,
only there for a few hours too.
Yeah, I feel like they could sense vampires were like probably waiting to dive in and feast on the.
I think the vagina showed up and like they just scattered. They scattered.
They didn't have a chance.
Yeah, I mean, I would fear vagina.
We did have we had quite a bit of garlic in our backpack, and yes. There was
yeah, we did.
You could smell that for.
And we were packing holy water.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I think that they smell vagina coming from like a mile away. We were some stinky vagina boys that night.
Yeah, a little moistened up
with holy water and reeking of garlic.
Moistened up, smelly vagina.
You're the immature one. You are. Come on. It's funny. Oh, yeah, by the way, all tier 3 members of our Patreon are honorary vagina members. So if you're trying to, we're working on like giving like, a document that you can put on your guys' wall. Allow everyone to take you real fucking serious.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Means business. Vagina means business. But it was fun. And it was great. It was a nice, change in pace. And really what it did was it opened us up to kind of the idea and the understanding that we can take our content wherever we go. We were thinking about how funny it would be. There's this fest called Lost Lands not far from here at all. And had we thought of this before, we could have sat down with a bunch of like, trippy kids who are all bent out on K and fucking, acid and all sorts of other things. We could have sat down and interviewed them while they were, in the midst of a candy flip and got some really interesting stories, I'm sure. I'm sure of it. But yeah, we're just kind of realizing our potential and that we can kind of find ghost stories anywhere we go, instead of waiting for them to come into our email, which is hellfirehollerpodcast@gmail.com. Instead of waiting for them to show up there, we can go find them. So if you guys have any suggestions on events that might be fun to go do, especially paranormal or haunted events, I'm sure a lot of that's going to be coming up in October.
Oh yeah, we're going to be busy.
Mm-hmm. But I think it'd be nice to know what you guys think. And are you enjoying taking the podcast to the people? Let us know in the chat. Let us know. All right. Let us know down in the comment section as well. I think that this is something to definitely build off of. And yeah, enjoyed it. It was nice being out of the studio. So after we did the Mothman IRL, so after we traveled to Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and we went to the little sleepy town, and we turned it upside down with our investigation. Yes, we did. We went to the TNT district. We stayed there into the wee hours, seeing if we could not attract the big man himself, Mr. Mothman. And, we did have, if you've watched that, if not, go back and watch that episode. Put the thumbnail for it right here. If you go back and watch that, you saw that there's quite a bit of lore lingering over top of that city, because this is considered to be the origin of an American cryptid by the name of Mothman. There's an actual museum, Mothman Museum. Well, after we did that IRL and we put several clips out trying to attract people to watch it, a granddaughter of the man who supposedly shot Mothman stepped forward and told us a story and gave us an interview of how her family's history weaves into the tale of old MM. And there were some things that really stuck out, and which made it to where we needed to go and follow that thread, and we ended up doing that, going a second time to Point Pleasant. But we did that during the Mothman Festival. You guys have been waiting 2 months for this interview, and now is the time. So let's hear what the granddaughter of the man who shot Mothman has to say. And Cody and I will let you know some of the threads that unraveled from this story's sweater and how we chased them, and how that left us more perplexed
more
than we
questions
were at the beginning. So without further ado, here is the interview in its entirety.
So I'm here with Jessica Honda, who has reached out to me after she saw a little snippet of our Mothman episode that we did, and she has a family lore that kind of mixes in with the folklore, and I wanted to sit her down and ask some questions in reference to her family history and essentially what you've been taught from your great-grandfather?
Yes, great-grandfather.
Great-grandfather. So we have a bunch of questions to ask, but do you mind letting the people know why it is you're sitting in this chair and what claim your great-grandfather has made?
Sure. So when I seen your Mothman snip, I always get pretty excited about it because I used to look into it as well when I heard the stories. I grew up hearing the story from our generation, not directly from my grandpa because he passed away when I was pretty young. But my great-grandma, which was his wife, obviously, and my parents, our great-grandpa apparently had killed the Mothman in Point Pleasant.
That is a wild claim. So,
yes.
So you believe this?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
So this is something that was just a family lore that was taught to you. Like now, was your grandmother very outwardly spoken about it, or was it kind of?
No, it was kind of a hush hush thing. Like they didn't even tell their kids. I just spoke to my mom about it on the way here just to make sure her recollection of it was similar. And when they were young, they wouldn't even. They said it was just the owl, you know. Yeah. But as they got older, things kind of started coming out. Grandpa passed, and that's when the story came out, which made more sense to all of us.
Yeah, that's wild. So she just stated the owl, and we're gonna get into that because there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
But in brief, you said that there was a group of individuals that showed up shortly after this event happened, in which case the body had been taken and replaced with the large owl.
Yeah. Yeah. I can walk you through the exact story that I was told.
Yeah. So I'm gonna aim some questions at you, and then my first question: can you tell us a little bit about your grandfather, and do you know what like kind of man he was? Like, can we?
So from what I've been told and what I vaguely remember, our grandpa was a very hard worker. His wife, you know, my grandma stayed home. She was a stay-at-home wife, very Christian lady, very tiny, and the sweetest thing on earth. She had like 900 people show up to her funeral.
Oh, wow.
It took 6 hours. I think it was about 6 hours for her funeral procession to go through. It was a lot. So she was very well liked. You know, everybody knew them. They were just very hardworking, down-to-earth type people.
Yeah.
So that's really who he was. He was the silent type, but very strong, you know, farmer, worked with his hands, that type of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of gives credence because, you know, if he was like the jokester or the prankster, that would, you know, my grandfather, same kind of way, a very stoic person. I think, you know, generationally, you know, the further you go back, the more necessary it was to be like the hardworking, you know, laborious type. And that's kind of what I was hoping you would say, you know, because that's going to give kind of validation towards the rest of everything else.
And they really cared about their name. You know, they didn't want people to speak about them and it be negative in any way. You know, they cared about that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That helped set the stage. Absolutely. So let's see. My next question. Where did he claim that this encounter happened?
In his backyard, in his field, right at his house.
So you said he was a farmer? So
farmer in Point Pleasant, West Virginia.
So, like, I'm assuming it made its way onto his farm.
Yes. It was startling the cattle, and he went out because it was dark. He always walked out with his rifle. He never left the house without his rifle. And he heard something stirred around over by the barn, which is down behind their shed. Yeah. And that's where it happened.
Wow. That's wild. So I know that this is all secondhand, it's passed down information. So if some of these questions are, you know, not necessarily something you know well,
right?
They'll be edited, so don't worry about them. But
okay.
My next question is: did he describe what led up to the sighting? Was he hunting, on duty, on guard, or doing something else?
So the way it happened was him and his wife were in the house watching TV, just doing their normal thing. And like I said, they lived on the farm, so they actually heard their animals were going wild, crazy, and he didn't know what could have been. He figured something was trying to attack them. From how excited they were getting. You know, it wasn't just a regular running around checking on the cattle. It was enough for him to make him grab his rifle, go outside and check on his animals.
Now, did your grandfather, I know the stoic kind, worried about his name. It must have been kind of difficult, you know, or I guess he might have avoided a lot of discussion about it, but did he ever say what, like a description of Mothman was, and did he in fact think it was Mothman?
Right. I don't know for sure what he thought it was, I don't know if he ever said it was the Mothman, but what he did say, when he seen the object, He heard a loud noise, what sounded like flapping, and came up from behind his barn and perched up on top of the barn. And he said it was a massive, like a huge black figure.
Huh. Yeah, so in our investigation, a lot of the accounts of Mothman that were stated by, civilians and folks that had these encounters with him was that he was anywhere from 8 to 12 feet tall. And that's well over 4 feet taller than myself.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a rather large, imposing creature. So it's kind of brave that he took a shot on it. Something like that, I would be kind of, even a grizzly, unless I had a high-powered rifle, I'd be scared to just piss it off.
Yeah.
You know? So it's
he went out to shoot whatever it was attacking his animals. He didn't care what it was.
Yeah.
So he probably got a little scared too and was like, I'm just,
Yeah,
but,
taking a whack at it, huh?
Yeah, but he wasn't the scared type.
Yeah. So Mothman is oftentimes depicted with glowing red eyes. Was that ever mentioned by him?
No. He said it happened so quick from what I've been told. He just mentioned the massiveness of it and how dark and fast it was.
Yeah.
I don't think he got a chance to actually look at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or it could have even been turned around if something.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things, the hypnotic allure of bright red eyes is so commonly referenced and mentioned. Like my sister, who is a very hyper analytical woman who oftentimes tries to explain everything from a scientific perspective,
right?
Has had an encounter that she talks about, and the fact that she's not trying to well, it could have been X, Y, or Z. She's like, no, it was piercingly red eyes and a very large figure that landed next to me while I was at a creek.
Oh.
She was the person that made me go, okay, there's something to this cryptid. Because hearing her kind of get into or get behind the notion that Mothman exists was kind of like, what, really? Like, you of all people, who didn't want to explain it, with some scientific, backing.
Yeah.
But it could have been turned around, or I believe that, like we were talking kind of before the interview, a large part of this is it feels almost psyoptic, like it's there's just like a big feeling of maybe government manipulation of not only information, lore, the account and the cryptid itself, so who knows? There could be some hypnotic, something done to the people who had seen it or what have you. So it's interesting he didn't see the red eyes. So we've already covered that he didn't see the eyes, but did he give any sort of description of the cryptid? Like after, so he holds up his rifle, he brings, he says he brings it down. I mean, did he stand over top of it? Did he get a good look at it? He almost had to have, right?
Yeah, it actually, from what I was told, he shot it, it fell down. He actually waited till, he just was talking about how massive it was. It looked like a very large man with wings, basically. Those weren't his exact words, but he said it was larger than man, way larger than man, larger than life. And it had massive wings. He kept talking about the wings. So I guess he left it till, because it was the middle of the night, he waited till about, daybreak and went out to it. And while he was at it, they never told us exactly what, they seen while it was laying there. But then this next part of the story was daybreak, sunrise, a bunch of vehicles showing up to his house.
Yeah.
And he was told to be quiet about it and was given the owl.
Huh. That's super wild.
Yeah. That's why they stayed quiet about it for a long time, because they, government coming to your house is going to be a little.
Well, all of
whoever.
Point Pleasant has a telling of once, in the 1966 time frame, that this was like happening leading up to the collapse of the Silver Bridge, that there was a presence of the Men in Black, commonly associated with, extra dimensional, paranormal, UFO phenomenon. And that there was a lot of going around and shushing people and silencing people. Now, one of the questions, because I remember in our pre-interview, like just kind of in our chatting,
Mhm.
you know, where you had stated that. How do you think that the body was like that? It was known to come and recover the body. You know, if nothing was like said or if nothing
Right.
was like spoken.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I do know is they showed up to the house, they grabbed it,
Yeah.
you know, and then that's when the owl appeared. They said, use this, because he was basically like, what am I supposed to tell people? I've already told people I've shot this massive thing down, you know, over my barn, and they're like, take this instead. And it's that owl with like the 8-foot wingspan.
Wow.
Mhm.
See, what Cody and I were speaking on was we believe that there is some sort of manipulation
Mhm.
with this creature and the creation of the creature,
Yeah.
you know, and that is probably a tracking device. There had to have been, you know, with what you're stating, you know,
Yeah.
like, because
Yeah, how would they have known that it was there? How
Yeah.
did they know he shot it?
yeah, you know, and then also with the high presence of what could only be assumed men in black government officials,
Right.
you know, so they know, they're very understanding that this is happening and that there is in fact this thing occurring all over Point Pleasant and even into the outer stretches of Point Pleasant. You know, there were sightings all over that area and beyond, you know, and Mothman is notoriously known for being able to outfly cars, so this thing can move. I mean, it can really get it and be wherever the hell it needs to be rather quickly.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things, you know, he shows up to Point Pleasant and then all of a sudden there's a massive presence of, you know, like government official types. And I just found it interesting that he brings this thing down, you know, and then, but also, you know, you just stated that he had already told people. It's just, you know,
his immediate family that lived close to the farm.
You know, it could either that or have been like a word of mouth, you know, or phone tapping or whatever have you. But it's just crazy that literally within the next day before the bodies moved and before almost daybreak.
It was just a couple hours, not even 6 hours.
That is wild. That is super wild.
So I'm a firm believer, you know, that, you know, and a lot of this is backed up just with history and how history works, and everything starts with the military industrial complex. Almost all like evolution of tech, you know, Velcro was at one point, it was military tech, you know, canning, like, you know, mass produced canned goods, military tech. You know, we're even finding that drones were supposed to be used in the Bay of Pigs. You know, that's like the 1950s. You know, they had drones. I think that wiretapping and being able to tap in on a mass scale is much older. Like, it's not a modern thing. That is how I believe that the Mothman was recovered. You know, I if this story is true, you know, because you sit there and you're like, well, would they have like a tag on Mothman? Did he have like an implant? Was he like a government something or other? I think that ears were put to the receivers of pretty much all the Point Pleasant area, because in this telling, you know, Mothman comes down, and within just a few hours, the men in black show up with a decoy. They show up with a large, massive wingspan owl, and they say, "This is what you're going to tell people that you brought down off your barn." So you're in the midst of having this large cryptid fall, you know, on your property. You're looking at it in amazement. You call your cousin Dale, you know, you got to get over here. Look at this thing. Who comes down the driveway? Well, the men in black.
I mean, to them already like be prepared with a replacement thing to, like, they had to have known.
Yeah, they had to
exactly what was going on and what they were walking into.
Yeah, they had to have some shit pre-tapped, so, which makes me think that they had almost listening devices going through every call that was making its way through the telecommunication lines. You know, they had to have been sitting there and like, oh, we got a lead. You know, now how would they be able to bring down an owl? You know, how would they have a carcass? Well, they very well could have just skimmed the wood line with the thermal. Like, there's a big ass owl right there. Bring it down. Bam. Give it to them. You know,
Well, if you wait till later, there was the guy says that there was multiple
owls.
Like says multiple, either people had shot owls or people had shot this thing and had been replaced with it. So
we thought that was
could
going to
just
be
been their go-to thing. Like, oh, you know, what could we say this was?
Right, and then you have
so they just
you have in the Mothman Prophecy movie, like the imagery that keeps being shown to you on repeat is owl, owl, owl. So is there, you know, like the government is very open about different programs that they've used. You know, there's Project Mockingbird, you know, like in which they have used pop culture to kind of, you know, subdue or push a message or whatever to the public, you know. And it's like whenever that Mothman Prophecy movie came out, the imagery they kept showing was owl, owl, owl. If you know how Hollywood works, you know, with their, you know, like a Hollywood branch is what Druids used to use in spelling, you know, casting spells, curses, channeling, like your TV channels, you know. There's a lot of kind of woven in like occultism into Hollywood, you know, and especially nowadays, it doesn't take much to like decode that. So, you know, it's not exactly hard. So at the time, they're bringing in this owl to give to the grandfather, you know, which I'm conflicted. I kind of believe the government would have just whacked him and his family.
I don't know. I don't think they would have gone that far, because then they would have just had to do that with everybody, right? Like every witness who'd witnessed this thing. I mean,
oh yeah, I forgot the government has mercy.
I just don't know.
You know, I don't know. You know, I'm gonna be skeptical. You know, like if trying to uncover the truth, you got to take everything with a grain of salt. You got to look at all avenues. But this part of her interview is what started the thread unraveling from the Mothman sweater. It gave me and Cody something to fixate on, which was an owl. Also, the correlation with the owl being in the movie. You know, it seemed like owl was something that they wanted you to focus on. You know, so this is the part like that really cued me and Cody in to start sniffing around, looking for this owl specifically that was handed to her grandfather.
Do you know what caliber weapon or what type of weapon he used to bring it down?
I think it was 22 rifle.
22?
Yeah, that's usually what he carried.
Yeah. So he had to have been an excellent shot.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Growing up on the farm, shooting coyotes, things like that. He was a hunter.
Yeah. Did he make any sort of statement on after he had hit it? Like, was it immediately known that he had hit it? Did he say that it fell immediately? Did it struggle? Did it any sort of thing?
From what I was told was he shot it and it fell right off the peak of the barn.
Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mothman is oftentimes depicted as like this ironclad, you know, like abs and you know, like glutes of steel.
Yeah. Abs won't save you if you hit it in the
head. Yeah. So did he in fact state that he had hit it in the head?
I honestly don't know.
Yeah. You don't know. That's it almost have to, you know. But who knows if this thing even has a heart?
Right. That's true.
But a noggin's a noggin. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's out there shooting coyotes and raccoons, and you know, like I wasn't as good of a shot as I was until my chickens started getting messed with every night.
Yeah.
And then you know, I started getting really you know, good at shooting. You know, ammo's expensive.
Oh yeah,
you know?
definitely.
Like, you got to bring them down quick.
When you have something to protect, you're gonna do what you gotta do.
Yeah. So, did he ever describe any sort of sound or anything that it had made? Like,
the only thing he really talked about was he wasn't sure what the noise was that he was hearing that was scaring the cattle, but by the time he went outside, he hollered, and he might have even done like a warning shot. I'm not sure, but I know he was hollering to try and scare whatever was scaring his animals.
Yeah.
And then that's when he heard something behind the barn, and he heard this loud, massive, which said it sounded like flapping.
Yeah.
Like, you know, lifting up off the ground behind his barn, and that's when it perched up on the barn. and he had mentioned how it just kind of just hit the top of the barn.
Huh.
Like it came down pretty hard. I don't know if it was trying to scare him or what it was, but that's when he shot.
Huh. That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've heard everything from screeching, like telepathic, like sounds, like in in the more so in the human mind and not so out like exteriorly.
He just mentioned the loud pounding of like wings flapping.
Yeah, so that was the one thing that we heard at the TNT district.
Yeah, when you mentioned that, I was like, that's so funny because
but it had a strange shrill undertone to it, like it was, and it's really hard to hear on our footage because we were inside of a TNT bunker at the time. But Cody and I mean, both of our heads just whip around because we heard this really, really loud like flapping, which didn't seem to really make sense to an owl because they're known to be silent flyers. It's one of their biggest attributes to them, being able to approach prey silently, and we're inside this TNT bunker with this, resonating of bullfrogs and cicada and cricket, and it's almost ear-piercingly deafeningly loud, and then your every movement inside of one of those bunkers is amplified to like a deafening degree. So the fact that something outside of the TNT bunker where we are standing was able to be heard from the outside, the sound makes its way into the inside and is amplified over the deafening droning of everything, was really strange. And it caught our attention really quickly, and then we started trying to kind of rationalize, like, what could it be? We're next to a wetland. Is it a crane? Is it but everything led to these non-nocturnal, like, it could have been a buzzard, a turkey hawk, it could have been a crane, but we're like,
the middle of the night.
They seem like they'd be sleeping right now.
Right.
And
exactly.
not to mention just how big the wingspan of whatever it was would have to be to like be heard over everything.
Yeah.
And that was the only thing that we got that night where we were like, that was weird. And then that leads me now with you stating that, this creature had been like terminated. It had been shot. That leads it to, is it Mothman or is it Mothmen?
Yeah.
How interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because we've had several stories come in as well from people who are still having, I think the one that we read on our story was 10 or 7 years ago. And a lot of sightings really dropped off after the collapse of the Silver Bridge.
And to mention, it was just not long after the Silver Bridge collapse when this happened.
Yeah.
Because supposedly after he shot this thing this night, the Mothman sightings disappeared for a long time. Yeah.
That's wild. And if it's like if it's a assembled cryptid, if it's something that's been made, or created, or maybe some sort of genetic hybridization, like made, they could have made multiple. There could be another one, who knows? But I find it super interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and that night with his adrenaline pumping, for him to mention all he could remember was the wings and how loud they were when they were flapping, says a lot, because it had to really got his attention.
Oh, yeah.
Other than the size.
So the next question, did the encounter change him? Did he seem shaken, obsessed, or secretive afterward?
It was more secretive from what I've gathered from the family, because even Grandma wouldn't talk about it. Great-Grandma wouldn't even talk about it until he was gone and passed away. And then when I was four-wheeling with a cousin when I was in my teens, he brought it up about they lived down the road from our great-grandparents, and their parents said they remember seeing the SUVs coming down. And that was the day that they left with the Mothman. So, but he was more secretive. He didn't, I'm sure he'd be a little shaken or whatever, but he was more just secretive and like, what the heck just happened?
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. If you remember, for the longest time, nowadays it's kind of, maybe it's just harder to keep it under wraps with like the progression of like the internet, and everything. But it used to be super hush hush. You have the notorious approach of like Roswell, New Mexico, and it was just a weather balloon. And it was like trying to keep everything under wraps. Now it's on the media, it's on the news. You know, you hear all the time, just declaring that there is in fact extraterrestrials. There's UFOs, or what are they, unidentified submergible objects,
Right.
USOs now. Like and then talking about civilizations under the ocean. Like it's just super common knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, but then, you know, with the presence of the Men in Black and, you know, like I could see someone being kind of scared to be forthcoming about the information.
Yeah.
You know, and then you also have what you stated earlier. He was a kind of a stoic man who cared a lot about his reputation.
Yeah.
So that's
a lot of it.
That makes sense. Now, do you think it would have been something he was more outward about if it was today's time?
Oh yeah, he'd probably be like, "Yeah, I shot the thing."
Yeah,
you know?
photos and shit on Facebook.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Did anyone else witness the body or the aftermath of the shooting?
Yeah, my great grandma.
So she saw it as well.
Yeah, and it's funny. I remember being at her house when I was little, like 9 or something like that. She died when I was around 9, so it's around that age. And I remember her being like, I'd always remember her saying, and then they brought the owl. You know, when they brought the owl, it just didn't make sense to me hearing that.
Yeah.
So when I heard the stories and stuff, I was like, that makes sense now.
Yeah.
You know, they brought the owl.
Yeah.
It's not what Grandpa killed, but that's when they brought the owl.
The covering of the track.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's wild. That's super wild. And we were discussing this earlier, and we both kind of came to the same conclusion in the movie, The Mothman Prophecies with Richard Gere. You know, which if you ever go to the Mothman Museum, it's hilarious. They like idolize Richard Gere in that museum. They're like, here's the chapstick he used, here's the paint bucket he carried, and you know.
Right.
But in that movie, there is quite a bit of showing of owl imagery. And do you think that is an intentional, like that maybe that movie was made to continue to add maybe some sort of discrediting to Mothman and try to almost like sway public opinion that it could in fact be a moth or not a moth, but an owl?
Oh, I very much believe that.
Yeah.
And I also think it's one reason why Grandpa's name's not in there.
Yeah.
Because you put a name to the actual story that might have brought down the Mothman.
Yeah.
People might be reaching out to those people and getting the truth, you know.
Well, that's what we're doing right now.
That's right.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So in the days after, months and years after, was there any backlash, disbelief, or ridicule that your family or your grandparents suffered from this event?
Not that I'm aware of. The people that they had told, they were all really supportive because they knew my great-grandparents. I mean, they knew the type of people they were.
Yeah.
There wasn't anybody calling them crazy. There wasn't that I'm aware of. But I mean, everything seemed to go pretty normal. Like a lot of people just wanted to turn their backs on it, you know, because they didn't know what happened.
Oh, I mean, everybody had been seeing, you know, the hysteria that was happening in Point Pleasant at the time. Not only do you have the presence of this cryptid, this very, very much so like almost moth-like man, this winged man creature happening, but there's also a large presence in sighting, like increased sightings of UFO and strange lights too. And then you have the government presence coming in. It couldn't have been hard to believe that something strange like that had occurred.
Yeah.
You know, and with a small town like Point Pleasant, gossip and everything gets around real quickly. I mean, people had to have seen a procession of cars coming down to your grandfather's.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, it was a long driveway. People have definitely seen it. And there's some people who are like, think of my grandpa, even though he was always such a great man, they also kind of think of him as like a hero too, after that story. You know, but he would never want that kind of credit. He was just like, I just shot the thing, so it's going after my animals.
Yeah.
Whatever it was.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, it's, you know, I if that happened, you know, say that same occurrence happened to me and I brought something down like that, you know, maybe a private, you know, the people who find their way to my home would see over my fireplace a taxidermied head of the moth.
Right, and I bet that's what Grandpa would do but he has the owl up there anyway.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did up until it went in the museum.
It's in the museum now? Really?
Yeah, it's the owl with the 8-foot wingspan.
I wonder if we got video of that. Or if
Maybe.
we missed that. We also didn't know the significance of it until until
Okay.
now. But you're saying that owl, the actual owl, is in the museum.
Yep.
So
And the whole story of Grandpa was mentioned very slightly in the book too, the actual book. It doesn't have his name though.
Wow.
But, yeah.
Wow. We'll have to look into that, and we're going to splice that into the interview here.
So this is the part that really perked my ears up. I'm joking, with her, oh, I would totally have taxidermed the Mothman. I would have done that, or even the owl. I would, if they gave me the owl, I would have had it put above my mantle. And that's when she goes, well, he did. And I'm like, oh, so this is where the thread really gets pulled. And, that this is what gave me and Cody something to dive into, to kind of find out some sort of authenticity of the story. And sure enough, we find out that there is, in fact, a owl that had been donated to the Mothman Museum. Now, later we find some information that just further perplexes this whole incident. And we were, in fact, talking to probably somebody who didn't really know the history really well. We talked to a young lady at the counter, kind of bringing some questions that she probably, she's not the owner of that museum. She's probably just working there. She's only heard, limited information, which makes the investigation difficult. But we do, in fact, get the thread that there is a ability to validate parts of the story that she's telling, in the form of confirming an owl at the museum. Now, we do, in fact, do that. However, you will find by the end of this why it is further complicated and why it doesn't exactly bring resolution. Now, we dug a bit deeper and confirmed that an owl the size that she's saying, an 8-foot wingspan, did in fact grace the halls of the museum. However, it is complicated. But back to the interview.
Did he believe that the Mothman was flesh and blood, or maybe something supernatural?
Honestly, I'm not sure if he actually really believed or not, because he hadn't seen it with his own eyes. But I never got to have that conversation with him. But he was a pretty realistic person. Yeah. So when it came to supernatural, he's like, he's the type of person that want to see it with his own eyes. Yeah. He would never call anybody crazy if they did have an encounter like that. But, he would try and, logically think what might be going on. Yeah. But after that night, things kind of changed, for him.
Yeah. So before he was not a believer in anything of the supernatural scale, and afterwards he might have had his mind changed a bit.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I have friends like that until there's a corpse of a Mothman laying there. It's like, I told you. Yeah.
And there's a reason why he had the owl sitting right across from his sitting chair. Something to look at and be proud of.
Did he ever make the connection of the Silver Bridge collapse and the strange creature that he had shot that night? Like, was there already a buzz going on that maybe Mothman had been responsible for the Silver Bridge? And did he take any sort of pride that he had brought down something that had caused the collapse, or was there any sort of thought like that?
I don't know if he ever talked anything about the bridge. He was just happy to be protecting his farm. That's all I really know is what he shot down, he believed, it's not going to hurt anything anymore. So.
Okay. Do you think Mothman is real, or more of a symbol or a myth of Point Pleasant?
I like to believe in it. I don't really believe that it's just a animal that made its way here somehow through just basic nature. Yeah. I believe that it might be something that was created, outside of nature.
there's a part of me too that like wonders if it's like a demonic force.
Right.
You know,
It could be.
if it was something, you know, maybe that they had their eye on that had escaped, you know, the bowels of hell or whatever have you. You know what I mean?
Well, I know there's that theory of like a demonic presence, and then there's the one where it's kind of like an angel, because it shows up before tragedy, trying to warn people. So I mean, you never know.
Yeah. If it was an angel, how does that make you feel about your grandfather shooting it?
That sucks. That sucks. But hey, don't be startling us cows, you know?
Yeah. With the statement that your grandfather essentially shot the Mothman, how do you explain further sightings of seeing him like throughout time and up into present day?
Well, I believe that you know, people had brought it up to my grandparents apparently that after he had shot whatever he shot, you know, the sightings of the Mothman disappeared for years and years and years. So, you know, they got to thinking that had to have been the Mothman that you shot, and Grandpa just would stay tight-lipped about it. But I believe that, you know, because there's been sightings of the Mothman, you know, like I said, at Chernobyl, right before Chernobyl supposedly. Something in Japan that happened, like there's been other sightings of them too. So I believe there's more than one.
Yeah.
And I believe the one that he shot might be the one that was there for the collapse and all the other sightings that they had.
Now, there's something, you know, Chernobyl and the Point Pleasant area, there's something in common there. There's the radiation, there's the nuclear factories. Do you believe that has anything to do, like I've heard people say that Mothman eats radiation, essentially that he's attracted to radiated sites, you know. Do you have any maybe belief in anything like that, or a belief in correlation with, you know, nuclear, like nucleated sites?
I never really thought of it in that way as far as radiation goes, because I had never heard anything like that. But I think more it's along the lines of just being in certain areas, keeping an eye on certain things, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because you had stated the Chernobyl factor earlier, and you know there's always been, you know, in the beginning of our video we take the drone up and you have this like really peaceful, serene looking area, and then whenever the drone turns around you have like the giant nuclear silos in the background. You know, it kind of gives you that raised eyebrow, like, you know. And then if there's sightings around Chernobyl, you know, where a nuclear meltdown happened and everything, and then you have the sightings in Point Pleasant where there's a nuclear silo. Right. It's like things start to, you know, start to look a certain kind of way.
Yeah.
So what do you think that people should take from your grandfather's story?
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I want to say, you know, can't always trust what you hear on the news. And just be open-minded about what might be going on in your area, you know, that type of stuff. Because, I mean, I believe that with giving the owl, I believe that it was just a cover-up. Because if it was just him shooting down an owl,
what's the big deal?
Yeah, he'd be like, I do that every week, you know. It wouldn't be that big a deal. But for my grandpa to bring it up, I just feel like there is a lot more out there than what we're aware of. And do your own research.
I say that in every one of my nature videos.
Yeah, do your own research.
So do you think that there's more to his story that he didn't tell?
I absolutely do. I believe that he probably would have been way more open about what it looked like, what it was for sure, you know, other than being very vague description, because he was right on it. You know, he shot it, he walked up to it, he drug it across his field, like he saw the thing. And then, you know, he was proud of that owl, but I don't think it was for the fact that it was an owl with an 8-foot wingspan. I think he was proud of that owl because he brought something bigger down. And that owl reminds him of that whole thing. And honestly, he'd probably be excited that the government was watching him. Like, you know.
That's freaking, that's cool as hell. How has his story influenced you in your view of the Mothman legend?
Well, honestly, that story growing up is what got me interested in it. Once I was old enough to really understand the whole concept and was able to piece together what, you know, the story was told from me, from Grandma, and then the rest of the family, that's what got me wanting to research into the Mothman, which might have been kind of a way to try and remember my grandpa and kind of person he was. But that's ultimately what got me interested in the Mothman and all of that.
Now, with that interest and kind of almost that confirmation that comes from your family and folklore, does that open you up to believe in, say, the other cryptids, Bigfoot, etc.?
I sure do. I believe that it's a possibility for sure.
Yeah.
So whenever things like that come out, but I'm not like a big, conspiracy theorist, not like massive, but I do believe that there are things out there that are not explained and are covered up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Mothman is interesting in the fact that people who go out into the woods and have a Sam Squanch, a Sasquatch experience, aren't typically followed around by men in black.
Right.
Yeah. Like, so that makes me feel like his is a bit more of like organic, or maybe he's like true to our natural ebb and flow in an ecosystem. Like maybe he's just a, very elusive, capable, intelligence, almost, that, or maybe superior to that of a human, that exists in our woods and is very good at covering his tracks. And, but then you had like the interesting thing with the Mothman, is that there's such a shitstorm that surrounds him. I mean, like he had the entire town up in an uproar. I mean, he became known as the harbinger of death.
Yeah.
Like there's so much confirmed activity that when you step into Point Pleasant, you have the museum, you have like literally there's cake shops and ice cream stores and restaurants that are all dedicated to him. Like you don't really get that same vibe of mystery that you do with Sasquatch. You almost get more of a something
like a
definitely
confirmation.
happened. Yeah, something
definitely.
Definitely happened, and there was just too many witnesses to this event and to the cryptid and so many people. That would be so hard to get a like Cody and I were joking about whether or not this town kind of got together and was like in city council, like hey, our tourism sucks, we don't have anything going for us, like maybe we could cook up this whole, and whether or not it was like one of the biggest kind of like plays almost put on, where the whole town was kind of acting out this thing. But I mean, what is the likelihood of that?
I think it's way too descriptive and to really be like that.
So one of the most notorious aspects of Mothman and people who have seen Mothman is psychological, like woe, dismay. Did your grandpa suffer any sort of like psychological impact? Like what, was his dreams like off skew, in the days after? Did he have any sort of like strange psychological problems arise from this occasion?
Not that I'm aware of. Nothing that they had brought up. Like I said, I wasn't really around when before he passed much. So a lot of it came just from his wife, my great grandma, and the generations after. And nobody had mentioned. Now he was very alert, I'm sure, after that for his farm, but nothing that we were told.
Yeah. And not just alert for probably his farm at that point. He's probably alert that like he's on the chopping block for seeing something that he shouldn't have seen.
Yeah.
I would have a hard time sleeping at night knowing that. Like
that was a concern. Because they didn't know what to think about the Men in Black, but.
So that's interesting too, because there are so many people who have had psychological like detriment after their account with the Mothman, dreams, sicknesses, all sorts of, strange things occurring, hypnotic states, hallucinations, that it's kind of funny that he didn't, being in such close proximity, but then again, it's like, does that give credence to Mothman continues to almost telepathically haunt someone? You can't do that if you're dead,
right?
If your brains are blown out, like sitting on top of this farm,
right.
Like no wonder why he didn't have any sort of psychological impact afterwards. Like that's kind of funny. Now if he did, you almost got to wonder, You know, like, because there's still sightings. Like, did they bring him back? Is there a new one? Did he regenerate? Maybe he's got highly regenerative powers. You know, if he's like a creation, maybe he's by no means gone. He just like, you know, KO'd his ass for like, you know, for a while.
Respawn.
Yeah. Okay, so what would you say to people that say that your grandfather made this story up?
I would say that I have a very hard time believing that because they were very honest, very quiet. You know, they just wanted to live their life and be happy. You know, they had all these friends. They wouldn't do anything to hinder their relationships with all their friends, with their church group. You know, with that kind of stuff. They definitely wouldn't make something up that might put them in any type of light.
Yeah.
You know, because back then you'd probably be looked at like you're crazy.
Oh yeah.
To a lot of people. So yeah, I really believe that they would not take that chance of sullying the family name or their own character, you know?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it definitely had to have helped that there was such like almost like a mass psychosis going on within the town itself. You know, you have like so many people verifying and seeing all these things that when he steps out and is like, hey, this happened.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't, now had he been the only person that came forward and was like, so last night I shot this giant thing.
Right.
And these guys in black showed up and gave me an owl. You know, I think people would have been like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
But because the whole town was almost percolated with the idea of it, it made it probably a little bit easier to digest.
Yeah. I know some of the family, they didn't quite believe it either. Because, I mean, they weren't there. They didn't get there before everything had happened. They seen the owl. But they realized, like, oh my gosh, it's been a long time. Since this happened, nobody's heard anything about the Mothman. No sightings have been recorded since then. So maybe he's telling the truth, you know?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that took time for some people to come around if they were questioning.
Now, to those people who like did suffer, you know, like the traumatic side of Mothman sightings, and you know, I was stating the psychological detriment and all that. Do you think they would look at your grandfather as a hero?
I think so. I mean, I know I do.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you're suffering something like that, even if it was, you would get some type of comfort out of knowing that whatever they had harmed them is possibly gone.
Yeah.
You know, nobody had any issues like that afterwards. I think, you know, he wouldn't want that kind of credit, but I'm sure he felt a little bit of that as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's wild. Like, my jaw kind of dropped when you told me that the owl was in the Mothman Museum. You know, that gives a lot of credence to this story.
Yeah.
I would love to sit down with the museum owner. We tried to.
Oh, really?
You know, no one's gonna really know more about it than that guy. But like, how crazy is it? You know that, you know, a local to this area, you know, and your family is local to this area, and you know, Point Pleasant's not far.
Yeah.
You know, like you guys have that lore behind you mixing into the folklore, and that is honored in that museum. You know, and in the Mothman Prophecy book.
Yeah. As soon as both of my grandparents passed away, that's when they went and took it in the museum.
Yeah.
So I mean, that owl had significance way before, you know, the statue was put up and all that stuff. So.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
It's awesome to have you here on the show for sure. So, have you yourself visited the site? Like, so did you grow up going to your grandparents' house, and did you see the area declared as where Mothman met his end?
Yes. So I remember going to my grandparents, you know, long driveway they had before their house. They had their shed off to the left, and behind that shed there was like this rounded stone thing, and behind that was the barn where he shot it. But so the barn was back there out in the field behind that rounded stone, and when I was a kid, the barn actually burnt down. I think my cousin or uncle, Johnny, had burnt down the barn.
Like on accident?
Yeah, on accident. But that's where it happened, was right there.
Oh, that's wild. So have you personally stood where?
Yes.
Did you feel any sort of strange residual energy? Or?
I was really young, so I don't recall ever, but looking at the owl, that is like imprinted in my mind forever, you know? because it was such a large owl, but it didn't match up to what Grandpa, how he described it.
Yeah. So does this family lore make you feel as if you yourself have any direct personal connection to Mothman?
I think it'd be more of a connection to my grandpa. It gives me insight into his character and how he was,
Yeah.
It's cool that he done that, but I just think he's the badass, not Mothman.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm proud of my grandpa, you know. But yeah, it is. I mean, I love the story of the Mothman. I think it's way more credible than a lot of things you hear of.
Yeah.
And just coming from him and his credibility, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he's definitely one of my favorite cryptids because he's kind of the hometown cryptid. You know, like, I mean, he is, you know, native to the Appalachian, you know, area. You know, he's very much so local. So many of those news clips that we were viewing in the museum, you know, were from the Athens Messenger. You know, and sightings like stretch all through. So, you know, when people ask me what my favorite cryptid is, well, it's the hometown cryptid.
Yeah.
You know, it's our boy Mothman. You know?
Exactly.
So it's hard not to have a personal connection, you know, to the Mothman. So.
Yeah, he's definitely my favorite.
So was there any remnants left after that night? Did he ever speak of, was there blood? Was there feathers? Was there any trace of the Mothman left behind? Like, did he, and if so, did he make any sort of statement towards that?
Not that I'm aware of. He had mentioned that, you know, they took everything when they came and they just handed him the owl. They wouldn't answer any questions or anything or what it was. He's like, what is this that I shot, kind of thing? And they just handed him the owl and was like, this is what you saw, this is what you shot, keep your mouth shut. And like, they literally took everything. He didn't mention anything about blood or anything like that. I'm assuming there probably was some if the Mothman has blood, or if it was the Mothman. But yeah, he didn't mention anything, but he said that they took everything.
Yeah. So the TNT district is where Mothman is known to like kind of have as his stomping ground. Is the family farm close to the TNT district?
Yeah, it's not far. It's not far at all. I can't remember how many miles because it's been a while since I've been there, but I remember going through that area and not far. Once you get into like the prettier farmland, they're about there. Yeah.
So it's close to where the first sighting was. So it's, you know, fitting first sighting to what would possibly be the last sighting. Yeah, that's wild. So do you personally think that Mothman signifies a warning or a coming tragedy?
That's a good question. I would like to think that the Mothman is kind of for the people, like Mayor Mothman. But I think he tries to warn people. I think he's kind of like, here I am, you know, there's something coming. That's kind of the vibe I get. But you just never know. You know, there's two sides to that. So
yeah, you get a very mixed kind of feeling when it comes to Mothman. You know, there's a lot of renditions of him as like this very happy, like bubbly moth creature to like a very scary, spooky looking cryptid that's like hypnotizing you. And, you know, but when you step into Point Pleasant, you have so much of a conflicting energy hitting you because so many people are, well, you know, profiteering from what happened, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, why the hell not?
Right.
You know, especially a small town population, like I think 4,000 or close to 4,000. You know, like there. You know, if that's your claim to fame, if the only thing you really have is this really wild thing that happened to the town, you know, why not make money from it? But you know, there's such a conflicting energy as to whether or not it was terrifying or whether or not people, like you said, almost Mayor Mothman, you know, like he's just a very wildly misunderstood entity or being. So yeah, that's pretty cool that you say that. So last question, do you think the Mothman legend will continue or do you think it will fade away with time?
I kind of think it might continue because I do believe that there are more than one. Maybe not a lot. And whether it's a freak of nature or something the government created and it got loose or whatever, or a tool they use to do whatever, I think it will continue because, it's been very effective.
Yeah.
So, it's made a big splash and whatnot. So,
when you say splash, do you mean the Silver Bridge collapse?
40 some people died on that. No.
Yeah.
But no, I think whatever it is, I think it's been. I don't think it's going to stop.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And like I said, that there has been other sightings since.
Yeah.
Now, albeit they become incredibly slim.
Yeah.
That it goes from the year 1966. You have account after account, and it's happening at this rapid pace, and it's happening almost nightly.
Yeah.
To then something stops it shortly after the Silver Bridge collapse, and then with this story that you've told, and that holds kind of like a testament to its truth in the time capsule of the book in the museum. The owls on display, and then the writing. Although Grandpa Henry, his name not being in the book, but you have that cemented, there, but you still have occurrences happening afterwards, like you have the Silver Bridge collapse, and then bada boom, shortly afterward, everything just, leading a lot of people to go, he was just there for the Silver Bridge collapse. Funny enough, you have an inside scoop where it's like, actually, it's because he got his brains blown out all over my grandpa's yard. Now I guess this leads to a question. Do you think that Mothman sightings would have continued had your grandpa not pulled the trigger on him?
Honestly, I believe the reason why we're only seeing very few and far between sightings now is because there is no big tragedy that the Mothman's aware of, or however he knows it. Maybe we'll see more sightings when there is one of those big tragedies, you know?
Or maybe him or kinfolk have moved on to where the next big tragedy.
Right.
Like, it would have been nice to have Mothman show up during 9/11.
Yeah.
You know?
You never know. Maybe he was. Maybe he was what hit the building.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? But,
yeah.
Now, another part that gives some validation to the story is that she says that Mothman essentially ended up, being dispatched by her grandfather only like a mere week or two after the 1967 collapse of the Silver Bridge. That's when sightings of Mothman and seemingly the hysteria of Mothman kind of dissipates, and Point Pleasant goes back to being like a quiet little town bereft of the presence of Mothman. You have some people since then, including people who have written, to the podcast, and also, my sister, who I don't think her autism or her spectrum allows her to lie or deceive. She had an experience, and there's other people who have had experiences. There's also been sightings of him in Chernobyl and other places, seemingly always adorned with radiation. That leaves you to question, was the OG Mothman terminated, making it, likely that there is Mothmen or multiple creatures, or does Mothman in fact regenerate? Is the same cryptid still among us? I don't know. Now, the skeptic, and maybe this is just, someone who does not quite understand like firearms, who knows? A 22 is a rather low caliber. And so I'm going to go with my gut that maybe she just didn't know the caliber of the rifle, or maybe knew that he used a 22 often, and that kind of blurred the line a bit. I would say that more than likely he was probably hit with something a little bit higher cal. But if her story is 100% accurate, and say he did get shot with a 22, maybe it merely incapacitated the Mothman. I don't know. Both could be likely, but Mothman sightings do in fact dissipate, kind of coinciding with her story. Just an interesting tidbit that also gives a little validation to the telling of her story.
But I gotta thank you. That was a lot of fun. That was informative, and that put a new spin and some insight to the Mothman story, into the lore, mixing your family lore into the folklore. It's nice to have like a little bit of a backseat. A lot of dots and connections were made, I think, from this. It's super crazy to have the validation from both the book and also the owl that was, I have to say supposedly, because there's going to be people who are like, you fucking liar, know, like you're full of shit. But it's crazy that owl from your grandfather found its way into the museum, and also this account had happened in the Mothman prophecy book. A lot of dots connected, that gives some pretty crazy insight. And I got to thank you for that. No I honestly, whenever to sit down and talk to you all about it, I didn't know. I didn't think, I didn't know where it was going to go. But leaving this interview, it really, really uncovered quite a bit of perspective. Now I
answer some questions and
for sure. It must have been interesting growing up with that as like family lore and common knowledge.
Well, and when I sent you that message, I've told a few people about, that story, and they're just like, oh yeah, that's cool. But it's nice to finally actually tell the story of what I grew up hearing, me and my siblings, and just knowing my grandparents, I know they wouldn't just make that up to make it up.
Yeah, that is absolutely wild, and I'm glad that you're relatively local, so that you were able to by happenstance and through the power of the internet, I was able to find you and get you sitting in this chair to do this interview, and I'm sure the viewers are going to enjoy watching this. I feel like this was definitely insightful and a good listen, because I definitely liked asking the questions, and as it got deeper and deeper and things started to connect, I was like, wait a minute, this isn't bullshit.
Right, it's not. I'm not here to get famous or anything, just want to tell my grandpa's story because it's very cool.
Yeah, that's absolutely, that's legendary. Like, how cool. But thank you, Jess. That was absolutely amazing. I appreciate it. I'm sure the viewers at home appreciate it too. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section, and let me know if any of that connected dots for you to any cryptid enthusiasts or especially Mothman enthusiasts. Did this interview bring any sort of enlightenment to your pursuit of truth or knowledge towards the Mothman cryptid? It definitely did for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this interview. Jess, thank you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And it was awesome to have you.
So after that interview, this leaves me and Cody, like after reviewing it, kind of hyper-focusing on this owl.
Oh,
and we're thinking back to our previous footage, and we're going through previous footage. Did we capture, anything on camera? Can we validate that this owl that is said to have made its way into the possession of the Point Pleasant Mothman Museum? Can we go back and validate that? Well, no. So one of our main missions of our, going to the Mothman Festival was to get in and see if we could, wander around the museum and find this owl. The Mothman Museum during Mothman Fest is one of the #1 tourist attractions. So we're looking at this line and we're like, shucks, we can't really get in unless we want to burn our entire, opportunity to make footage standing in line, and it takes 2 of us to pull this off. So we can't have one person stand in line while the other person goes and does interviews. So we go and we do all these other interviews, and we are trying to make our way back, thinking that we're going to have to wander through the museum to see it. Well, we walk in at the end of the day, and we're hoping that we can still get in. We happen to walk in right as they're closing, and we're thinking, we've got to get this owl. We've got to validate this story. We walk in, and we don't have to go into the museum because the owl in question is sitting on top of the cooler. And here's that footage.
It's one of them. It happened multiple times.
Okay. That's funny. That does.
Yeah. Yeah. Now down at the River Museum, I think they have one down there, but I'm not 100% sure.
So we're trying to find the original.
Yeah.
Someone put us on leave that it was here.
I think it's right here. If they're claiming it's the original. I grew up here. I was always told there were several shots. So, but
this is supposed to be the original.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, and it's right the gift shop.
Yeah, it's right on top of the root beer cooler. Actually,
that's actually why we're here.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't see how that can be confused.
If anybody's getting just merch, we have
I
no
mean,
line for here.
That something's a little fishy about that. Now the guy claims that that's the original, but he also claims that there's multiple.
Yeah, there's no way to confuse that with a Mothman. That's not even like the size of a child.
No shit. So what is so?
I remember you.
Do you?
So upon going in, we're thinking that we're about to find the golden ticket here. You know, there's, you know, this guy at the door telling us, yes, there is in fact an owl. We're looking at each other like we're about to validate this entire story. We walk in, it's a it's a comically small little owl. But if you paid attention to what that guy said before we walked in, he's talking about a whole other museum, which just made our heads spin because we're like, wait a minute. You know, all over this museum that we're standing in this clip, world's only Mothman Museum. So what is the other?
The other museum is a river museum, and it's just down the road. And I don't know, it's just Ohio River. I don't know, I'm not sure, but it also, because of the vicinity to the bridge collapse, there's some artifacts and stuff there too.
Of the
and
Mothman.
Apparently well, I don't know, but just the bridge and the story, it probably also has the Mothman at least a little bit.
Right.
But it's not its main like thing, and apparently there's an owl, at least from what he said. I'm not sure, but
so what I'm getting at is the sweater string continues to unravel. So this is why we have to yet again do a follow-up and investigate further. But Cody and I then turned to the internet and we're like, is this the only owl? Is there any other documentation we can find? And we find this image of a large owl that fits the description of Miss Honda's testimony, and it is seemingly
it fits the description of her story a lot better, with the wings open and it's slightly larger looking.
Right.
And it's if you compare the pictures of the owl that we just saw at the museum and this picture, it's in the same spot.
Yeah.
And then that begs the question is like, what happened to that owl? Why was it replaced? And then, I mean, I'm not going to hold these workers that may not know everything accountable for not knowing, you know, the whole history and everything. But
especially
I mean,
when
they're
they don't
telling
have the
us that
interview.
this is the original owl,
Right?
And with just a little internet sleuthing, we can
disprove that.
Yeah, we can be like, well, that's not the original owl. What happened to this owl? And
Right.
So now there's a whole nother
museum.
Well, there's just a whole nother couple
multiple
threads where
owls.
it's like, what happened to this owl here?
Right.
Why was it replaced?
But we could see in that picture that used to be in the museum, or maybe it was just somewhere tucked away in the paid element of the museum.
Now you can see the pipe and everything, and the sign in the background. It's the same spot.
But it sat in the same exact spot. The owl that matches the description from Jessica Honda's interview used to be where what seems to be a now decoy owl of the original owl.
So the Men in Black came, replaced Mothman with an owl, and then went to the museum later and replaced that owl with another owl.
Right. So
And
it's
just
like it's like the cup game where you put a ball underneath, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, it does. When we first walked in and we saw that tiny little owl, before we had done the internet sleuthing, when we saw that, we were like, wait a minute.
Yeah, there's something doesn't add up. There is no way to
Yeah.
mistake this owl with anything other than, like, there's no way you can be like, that was a Mothman. Like,
right. And to
it's like-
claim that was the original, does that mean that there's also multiple tellings of the same tale?
Yeah, I don't know.
Who knows?
A little more research is needed.
But we're definitely going to have to do more.
We have to get, at least some point, we have got to end up talking to the owner of that museum.
No,
he seems a little, what would you call it, hesitant to speak?
Well, the fact that we've gone in before and then we've stated, hey, you know, we have a rather large social media presence, you know, like we would just like to, like, you know, kind of get this story out there. We asked a worker to give us, you know, hey, can you go and let this guy know that we just have a few questions for him, maybe some things he can clear up. That worker told us, I think he left from the back. So we're like, oh, we had been like standing at the entrance for like a solid 25, 30 minutes. And then finally I'm like, hey, just follow up, you know, did you tell the owner? And he's like, yeah, I think he left out the back. Sorry. And that made us, where's the owl?
Yeah, I don't know.
Right? Like, I don't even think at the time we had the question of the owl.
No.
I think we just wanted to talk to him about a few things. It was even before the interview. You know, like it was before we did the interview with Jess Honda. But, you know, you call the museum and you can't get through. You know, they've since given us an email. So we're going to reach out, maybe go do a second follow-up and try to clear up the matter of this owl. And this guy seems to base his entire life around the Mothman, you know, and collecting all sorts of information. So we are, if you by chance happen to be watching this, sir, Mr. Owner of the Point Pleasant Mothman Museum, the Holler Boys, the Hellfire Holler Boys, would love to sit down and do an interview with you. Perhaps we can clear up some of these loose ends for our viewers at home. But scratching our heads the moment we walked in and saw this pygmy owl that supposedly this interview circled around, and then finding the other picture of the large owl really sent me and Cody for a loop.
Mothman investigation in the TNT district not long ago, and that brought forward somebody from our area whose grandparent supposedly was a person who had shot Mothman, and then the Men in Black supposedly brought them an owl to give to that family to say, you know, like, this is what he shot, you know, when people ask. And they claim that that owl was then taxidermed and then found its way into the museum.
I've never heard that story, actually.
So we came in expecting an owl that was more than likely, you know, somewhat human size, and there's this one instead.
Yeah.
Do you know if this is the original owl?
It is.
Okay, can you give us a little bit of backstory on said original owl? Because so far it doesn't seem like it's matching up to the story we were given by this local.
Basically, forgive me if I messed up the story, but I believe it was basically some dude saw something in his barn and saw like glowing red eyes, and then shot at it because he thought it was a Mothman, and it was an owl. That was like the story. It was in his barn.
So, our testimony that we have is that a woman, it'd be her grandfather, went out to his barnyard where there was a large creature perched on top of his barn, in which he shot and it fell off the barn. And then whenever he approached the body, he realized that it was something crazy. And then, you know, I was told this guy is not a prankster, he's not a jokester, he's not, he actually was far more concerned that he would be looked at in a negative light because his community was very Christian and everything. And he didn't want to break the mold. So he ends up calling his relatives in the dead of night after shooting it, and whenever he does to try to get them to come there, who actually comes, lo and behold, the Men in Black. They confiscate Mothman and they give him an owl because they heard him over the wiretap and said, whenever people know that you shot something, whenever you tell them a story, this is what you say you shot. So we have the interview, and we'll be posting it on Friday. Like our podcast is the Near Death Diary podcast. Can you write that down for your owner? Because we tried, so we call here and like it's like it doesn't.
If anybody's getting just merch, we have no line over here.
Yeah, something's a little fishy about that. Now the guy claims that that's the original, but he also claims that there's
So that was us. You know, we're trying to kind of make sense of it there at the end. That was our big goal, and it just left us with more questions than answers. So to be determined on the Mothman and validating the interview. We're not sure. We're not. The story is rather compelling. It was told with conviction, and it makes me believe that there was definitely some truth to it. Hearing that that's the original owl, I don't know.
Well, we know that's not the original owl.
Right. I mean, the one
unless
we
they
saw
switch it back and forth, and I don't know.
Yeah, and we definitely saw a larger one in its stead that definitely subscribed to this story a little bit more fluidly. I don't know, but Cody and I were in the spirit of enjoying ourselves at the Mothman Fest, so we continue to do interviews during our stay here. Interviews with some amazing people. Just people we grabbed up off the street, asking if they had any Mothman experiences themselves or spooky stories. And these are some of those stories that we acquired. Heard that a million times. What's that sign say? I always hear it stop.
Some serious skills.
What I found. What I found, man.
What's your favorite cheese?
What's your favorite cheese? What's your favorite cheese? Gouda.
No way! That's a
We knew it.
joke. But holy crap, we knew it. We have a podcast, and we were joking about, we were like, we're going to try to lure him out, and we were like, we're going to bring a lamp, funny enough, and we did. We brought a lamp, and then we were like, we're pretty sure he would like cheese, like a fine cheese. So we got him the finest Gouda, and we went out to the TNT district, and we were like leaving Gouda around, trying to get Mothman to come out, and go figure, favorite cheese is Gouda. What do you think, guys? That's wild. Well, thanks for stopping, man.
No problem, guys.
Yeah, we'll see you later.
Thank you. That's hilarious.
So if you tuned into the IRL investigation that Cody and I did, Cody and I decided that we were going to try to wine and dine the old Mothman, an idea from Fog Gilly himself. And we asked our Patreon members, and we asked you guys what you thought Mothman's favorite cheese would be. And the response was he was a Gouda boy. Mothman is a Gouda boy, kind of a pun on good boy. And then we meet Mothman, or a kind of a well-done costume wearer of Mothman. And what do you know?
What do you know? What are the odds?
What do you know? Unprompted. Now that's what makes this so freaking magic. Cody and I refuse to do any, we're flying by the seat of the pants. We do all of our skits and stuff in the TikTok world. When we do the IRL, everything is, direct and straightforward. That's why that moment was so magic. It really was. We ask, and how many different types of cheeses are there?
Oh, probably thousands.
He could have said blue cheese. He could have said Munster.
Could have said goat cheese.
He could have said goat. But out of all the cheeses, out of Swiss, out of American, out of Colby Jack, he said Gouda, which makes us feel like we were in the right place.
And his companion was a lamp.
Yeah.
So we were dead on the money out there trying to.
Mm-hmm. We brought a lamp and we brought Gouda. Yeah. So, what do you guys think of that? Is that not the synchronicity weaving like a web around Cody and I on this IRL? I personally, I'd like to think so. Yeah, that was a definite highlight.
Yeah,
that gave us a lot. That gave us a morale boost. That gave us a feeling of destiny.
On the right track.
Absolutely, Gouda boy.
Maya goes with you. No, we're going to do it by ourselves. No, I'm going to do it myself. No, you can come on. Come on. No, we're doing it together.
So many really cool, neat t-shirt designs. I'm going to go home and start drawing a whole bunch of stuff. What's up, brother? Good, brother. It's crazy. Crazy, right? A lot of people recognize me. It's wild. But yeah, I got to get this with the Mothman real quick. Hey, can you shout out my podcast? It's the
what's the podcast name?
The Near Death Diary podcast.
Near Death Diary podcast.
It's the Near.
Near Death. Near Death. Near Death.
The Near Death Diary podcast.
Near Death.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But, hi, Mothman. What's up?
What's up, man?
Just kicking it, chilling.
Right on.
How hot is it in that suit, dude?
It's pretty warm.
I can only imagine. I'm sweating just walking around. I wore sweatpants. I thought it would be a lot cooler in these. But how long you been in that suit?
Off and on, every like 30, 40 minutes, something like that, yeah.
Ooh, what's the longest you've had it on?
About, an hour? About an hour.
Yikes. Yikes. Well, we appreciate what you do for us here at the festival. Wouldn't be the same without having an actual Mothman walking around. So, appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah, take her easy.
All right, we stumbled across this fella by the name of Garrett. He says he's got quite a bit of information on not only the city of Point Pleasant, but a lot of the events and things that have happened in Point Pleasant. And we asked him, what story would you tell? What is your personal favorite spooky story? And he was letting us know of this pretty interesting one he's about to tell. So Garrett, why don't you take the floor, buddy?
Yes, sir. So growing up north, I ended up getting to be part of a place that had many haunted things happen in it. My mother owned a place called Hillview Manor, and she had that for a few years. And one time I was out with a group. They wanted to go and check some things out, and we had set up some cameras and things, and all of a sudden we stopped up in this hallway, and it just felt real eerie. So we're standing there, and I just try to make a smart aleck remark. I said, hey, this feels like in a horror movie when lightning flashes and all them faces are standing at, like, staring at you and such. And when I said that, a light in a closet turned on and off, and at the end of a hall, about 10 feet away from us, was this figure, about 6 foot tall.
First, tell me what you told us in brief. What was it about that light that was?
So, Hillview was, the last time it was operated was in the late 2000s, and it actually, after it went out of operation, people stripped a lot of the copper wiring out of it. So this specific part of the building, for the longest time, didn't have any electrical to it. So we tried tracing wires and trying to run things to it, light bulbs, tried a bunch of different stuff, and there was not electricity in that room that we could never get it to work in that room.
So you possibly not even the wiring to constitute electric work.
Yeah. So we had electricians that would help us out up there. So I mean, they had even checked prior to this, and there's proof of that, of them, through bills and things, going up there and actually checking with ohm meters and such. And no, there was never anything prior in that room.
Wow. Yeah. So something like that happened to me whenever I was a kid. I grew up in a house from the late 1800s. Our attic door would start to rattle and jump up and down on us and stuff. And the pull string would start to rotate. When it would rattle, you would see light from it, but there was no wiring up there. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, go ahead. That's crazy. Onward and forward.
Yeah. So as soon as that light flashes, there's this being, this figure at the end of the hall. Like I said, about 6 foot tall, and it looked like if you took one of them plastic skeletons and put a black garbage bag all over it. It was like just skin kind of hanging off of it. And it had these 4 protruding things coming out of the top of its head. I don't know, antenna, whatever you want to call them, they kind of went in opposing directions. But one thing I always remember is the craziest visual about it was it had these like darkish orange kind of eyes, but it almost looked like as if you were looking into like a pop bottle. So you can look and it's small, but you can see the depth behind it. And it was, and me and all these individuals that were part of this, we of course scattered. I mean, we found the closest door to get downstairs. We didn't want to go back that direction. We all pulled people that were not in the situation. We pulled them apart separately. We all went off and we all told the story of what had happened. And these 4 people came in the room and pretty much recollected the story the exact same way. So all 4 of us total had the exact same experience. And to this day, I mean, just being around in that field for a long time and growing up with that kind of stuff, I couldn't explain it.
So, a couple, I guess, questions. Did you think it was a tangible being, or would you think it was more on the ethereal, the spectral, side? Are we talking ghosts, or are we talking demonic entity?
it moved forward towards us, because I would say it wasn't like stationary. It almost was very ominous in the fact that it had came forward towards us about a foot or so during this while we were, Scooby-Doo running out the area. And but it's tough to say. I mean, I would say that it didn't look like something that would be a positive thing, but I would have.
That's wild.
I wouldn't have a good answer to that.
And then the electric phenomenon, something about the hollowness of the eyes and like the glow of it makes me wonder if like it had within its possession the ability to like do what it did to that light bulb. Its presence. Like, now, do you think that you just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and this thing, or do you think this thing dwelled there, like it was like its stomping ground?
So, since that incident, no one had ever seen something that looked like that. Now, the coming week, there was another group. I was actually out of town during this one, so I wasn't there, but they had stated that around the area, and they didn't even have any knowledge of the story happening. And they had said that they had seen a figure that almost looked like it was magnetized to the wall of a normal person, but as if they were walking on the wall rather than on the ground. And that was in the hallway adjacent to that hallway. But other than that, those would be the two of the darker style figures that were seen in that area.
Well, seeing as we are in Point Pleasant, and so this was like geographically close to this area?
So that would be in Shenango, Pennsylvania, which is going to be about an hour north of Pittsburgh. And
well, because my lead into that was, if that was close to here, what are the chances that might be, a Mothman or something of that nature now? So, seeing as you do have a history of, seeing things, that are in the unexplained, the unexplained territory, what is your personal belief on Mothman? Do you believe A, is Mothman real? And B, do you think Mothman was of this world or otherworldly?
That's a really good question. So I think anytime that you have a lot of stories, you have multiple sightings, the ability for that thing being fake diminishes, especially when you have people, whether it's a small town, large community, whatnot, when you have people that are telling these similar accounts and there is no difference in them, the odds of them in that amount of time being able to, especially back in the day, being able to transmit that information and corroborate a false story is slim to none. So I believe that it is definitely a real thing. Now, whether that is a giant moth half person, or if it was government trying to keep people out of the ordnance works where the military was at, but there was a lot of information that leads to it definitely being, I would say, credible.
Yeah. So a lot of people combine that government interests and the area in which case a lot of munitions are being held. There's the government interest of the men in black. And then you also have the giant silo of nuclear energy, which seems to be where other sightings like Mothman has been spotted in Chernobyl. You kind of have this culmination of things that make a lot of people wonder whether or not Mothman maybe was like a little bit of a whoopsie that escaped, from a government facility or something like that. So I guess my last question revolving around Mothman here, seeing as we are at the Mothman Festival, do you believe Mothman is still with us?
Cool. I believe Mothman is still with us. I don't know. So I believe it is possible. There is, if you ever get the chance to go out and actually explore TNT and stuff like that.
We did an episode.
Okay, yeah, I won't go out there at night, I'll tell you that. So there is some eeriness, but people still have seen them. I actually and friends with a guy that worked for the contract when they were removing stuff out of those bunkers. And while they were doing so, him and two gentlemen had seen a black mass go out of one about 3 doors down from where they were at, three of the bunkers down. And they seen something go into it, and they were afraid that somebody was trying to go in there and mess around with their stuff. So they ran down there, and there was nothing in there. And there's two men who would have said prior to this that it was all, you know.
So what year was that? Do you know?
That would have been, I think the bunker blew up in 2014.
So a good while ago.
08? Yeah, so around there.
So that is our first person giving a sighting past. I guess here in the now. We've had stories come in from people post the collapse of the bridge in 1967. But that seems where a lot of stuff got down. But you know, to hear that there are still people seeing him. Well, I guess here would be the last question. Mothman, or is it Mothman?
So I would say that with the chance that there is one, there is a chance that there are multiple. We have had sightings of this multiple places on the world. Just like I would state that there's more than one UFO out there. If a UFO was only spotted in one place, to be in multiple areas, I mean, is it the same one traveling around? I would say probably not. But
that begs the question. But hey man, Garrett, thank you so much. Thank you. What a great interview. I appreciate you taking your time to do that. You got any social media, anything like that?
Just
Instagram, TikTok.
Instagram, yeah. It's just my first and last name, Garrett Braniff. That's Garrett, Braniff.
Awesome, but maybe people will follow you. You know, so we always try to, you know, if you got a small business, anything like that, shout it out. If you want to help you get out, anything like that.
No, sir.
All right, man. Well, sweet.
Hey, appreciate you, man.
Yeah. You grab that mic.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, brother.
Anytime.
Yeah, that was great.
So first, what is your name?
My name is Cassandra.
Hi Cassandra, my name is Deadeye, and I am filming for the Near Death Diary podcast. It is a podcast that takes submissions from people who write into us and we amplify their story. We give their good or bad personal experience with either cryptids, you know, spirits, things like that. We give those a voice on our podcast. So right now we're just asking people if they have any sort of experience, good or bad, with the paranormal, and if the people at home can hear it.
Yeah, my grandma's an immigrant from the Netherlands. 2 weeks after I was born, her father, my opa, died. So I never met him. He was all the way across the ocean, never met the guy. I did not know he existed. There was one time when I came to visit my grandma, like when I was a little girl, that I pointed to his picture and I said, "That's my opa." And my grandma assumed my mother had told me who that was, and she had not. She was like, "How do you know that?" And I told them that he tells me stories. So I knew who my opa was, that I knew my relatives telling me. I don't remember anything about it necessarily, but it warmed her heart to know that, and he got to see a picture of me right before he died.
Oh, that's cute. So with that being said, do you believe that children are more capable of seeing anything? Like, have you ever heard that? Like that children kind of have more of the ability to see into the other veil, like the paranormal veil?
I think that's definitely got something to do with it. I think maybe children see a little more magic in the world than the rest of us, regardless of whether or not it's like any kind of actual spirituality. My little cousins are 12 and 9. Oh, they're getting so big. But I like to take them into the woods and we bring offerings to this tree in the woods. And it's mostly like a little fun thing. I write up like little like ancient looking scrolls for them sometimes. So it's like a little bit of a game. But then sometimes like they'll be like experiencing the world and I feel like they're feeling it in a more like they're feeling something that I'm not feeling, and that they're connecting with things more deeply than I am. And for me, it's a little bit of a game because I know like I'm setting it up, but then I let them like reflect it back to me without too much suggestion, and I get a lot of depth from that, and that's just really interesting.
Yeah. We talk about this quite a bit on the channel, and how I feel like we are almost conditioned to allow magic to disappear, like from our hearts. You know, like we're kind of told, you know, what's right and wrong and what's real and make-believe and a lot of these things that have yet to be kind of drowned out in children still resonate really loudly in them, until we almost as adults, trying to shape them into good future adults themselves, kind of push that magic out and away, with dispelling and saying it's make-believe and things like that. I think we hear that so many times that eventually the small things that would be a window in, we learn to disregard and, kind of push away, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think humans are very suggestible, but I also think that means we can suggest ourselves out of seeing things that are really there.
Yeah, I believe that's real too. So we are at the Mothman Festival, so before we part ways, do you have any experiences with the Mothman personally?
Not personally. There was room in my friend's car and I wanted a young adult fun experience. So
Okay, right
I was
on.
like, let me hop in the car with y'all.
Okay, so now the other question. Do you believe Mothman is real?
Cryptids, I actually took a class on supernatural stuff in college. It was really interesting because I could never tell whether or not my professor actually believed anything he taught us about, which is the best kind of professor.
Yeah.
I think there must have been something that happened that would at least give people the reason to believe that something was real.
Yeah.
Whether or not there really is a Mothman who can fly and has red glowing eyes in the night, I'm not sure. But I don't think someone fully hallucinated that experience. I think there must have been something that occurred.
Well, it wouldn't be just one person. It would be an entire town. The town we're in now, Point Pleasant. Seems like this whole town at one point was seeing the same thing, So that would be very difficult to coordinate for sure. But thank you so much for letting us do the interview with you. We really appreciate you. And we will be having you. This is the name of our podcast. It's the Near Death Diary podcast. It will be premiering 8 p.m. this upcoming Friday, Eastern Standard Time.
All right.
So,
thank you so
much. We appreciate you.
Have a lovely day.
Yeah.
Yeah, like fairy tale. Okay. So we're here with Chris Grimm, another paranormal investigator that we found here on our Mothman Fest day here in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. And he was passing out some flyers and some things that we thought were deserving of having its voice amplified. You want to go ahead and, Mr. Grimm, let him know what it is you're doing?
Yes, basically I'm here today to let everyone know that even though Haunted Majestic has moved from its current location due to eminent domain. We had issues with them building a bridge in the location, and we can't save the ship. But we've been working with the city of Barboursville, and they've been nice enough to let us host the Haunted Trails this year. So we moved all of our props and equipment over there and have been having a time building that up. It should be a lot of fun. I've been working with the city, doing research, and I also have a new paranormal tour if you're interested in the ghost hunting side of things.
Absolutely, especially our fandom would absolutely love that. I couldn't tell them what that is.
That is an hour-long tour, or if you get the very last tour of the day, the extended tour, then not only do you get a historical and paranormal stories going from location to location in the city of Barboursville and over its entire history. But you also get to participate in some what we call blind boxing. You would know as the Estes method, as you get to participate in us actively collecting data research.
Wow. That's awesome. So very hands-on experience.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
We feel that interaction is necessary in this type of field.
Yeah.
The more people that know, the more people that share knowledge, the better understanding we have.
Yeah. So of the afterlife.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
You never know what's going to happen whenever someone gets in the chair.
Yeah.
And let's be honest here. If you or me were giving a tour and we sat down in a chair and put the goggles and the headphones on, we start spouting off words, people are going to be like, yeah, they just rehearsed that.
Yeah.
But now if it's Joe Blow's best friend that hung a ride with them,
Yeah.
yeah, he sits there and he starts talking in tongues. Now we got something.
yeah. So that helps create undeniable proof.
Right.
Yeah. That's awesome. So going back to this, so you want to give them a little bit of detail on the ship, like the history of the ship that you were talking about, the vessel that you said could not be saved.
Yes. So the story of the Haunted Majestic, or rather the Majestic, began as twin sand barges that would go up dredging the river. Well, supposedly it dredged up some Native American burial grounds because it was widening the channel, and Native Americans would bury at the shoreline. The reason that the company sought this, it was kind of like a running gag because there was always malfunctions with the sand barges. There was always something wrong with those things for no reason. They were irregularly shaped. They were just giving all sorts of issues. So during World War II, the Navy contacted the Majestic Shipping Company and goes, yeah, we need you to give us 2 of your vessels. Materials are short, and we need something to work with. And they just laughed at me. Yeah, have them. So the military built a floating hospital by tying these 2 barges together. It had no locomotive ability, so it was towed out to 10 miles off the coast of Normandy, and it saw action during D-Day, during Operation Neptune.
There's a lot of dramatic history attached to that.
Yes. Of the 3,000 people that were treated during that were on that ship, there were a 10% mortality.
Oh, wow. So at least 300 people.
At least 300 people.
Wow. That's rough. It'd be interesting to see the conversion, how they converted. I imagine what just pop up tents, things like that, that they had set on there, or was it actually like they built a structure on top of those barges?
It was actually like a steel box on the barges. And at the time, whenever I was doing tours of the Majestic, I would take people through and explain what each room was, because there was a specific layout to it. And it was after it had seen all of that wartime and got decommissioned, then it started getting some wonky changes. One person bought it and tried to turn it into a dance club.
Oh, wow.
It didn't really work.
Yeah.
But, so you got a hospital ship that now on the recovery floor had a stage. And then another person that bought it wanted to turn it into a bed and breakfast. That worked until the paranormal experiences started to pop up.
Yeah.
Because the owner at that time kept getting complaints. It's like, hey, we paid for this private B&B. What's going on here? My wife said she saw someone in the kitchen.
Man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. In fact, whenever the previous owner bought the Haunted Majestic, or bought the Majestic, he didn't even care about the haunt side. He just wanted to turn it into a restaurant on the river.
Wow. It's still got that strange history for something like that,
Oh, we've got a very strange history considering he tried to use the morgue as a kitchen. But
I love this. This is interesting. Wow. So unfortunately that's been decommissioned. Well, not decommissioned, but that's essentially going to be done away with.
Yes. Due to a new bridge that's coming through, there is an eminent domain issue.
Okay.
And that means that the owner can't keep the property and will have to move the ship. But the ship is in such disrepair that if you try to move it, it would literally split back into 2 barges.
Oh, wow. So that's, but you're saying that what is happening now is that you are jumping ship,
so to speak,
to this new location, which is called the Labyrinth.
Yes, Haunted Majestics presents King's Labyrinth.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, we hope, and what is the date on that?
The date is October 3rd through November 1st.
Awesome. Sweet. So if you guys are in the area, and that's the city and state.
Barboursville,
West Virginia.
Barboursville, West Virginia. In the village of Barboursville, just turn left at the gazebo with the skeleton.
Awesome.
Can't miss it.
Sweet. So you guys out there, if you are in the spooky veins, just can't keep yourself out from such things like this, then you got another
thing you can possibly go and check off this spooky season. And you can get your spooky fix over at the Labyrinth, and go meet our friend Grim, another paranormal investigator.
Yep.
And give him a little bit of a shout from the Hellfire Holler Boys. Let him know that you guys found your way to him through us. And yeah, carry on, my friends. Much love. So while we were putting the cameras away and stuff, he started letting us know something that we needed to pick up secondarily, because it's pretty awesome. It's nice of him to do. Why don't you let him know what you do with the money that you get from us?
Yes. Well, as mentioned, I am a paranormal investigator. And what we do with this money, outside of overhead, is we use it to offset the cost for our home investigations. We know that some investigators out there charge like $4,000 for a home investigation, and that's just insane whenever your back is to the wall. We don't want to put any more stress on any individuals, and so we like to use this as our surplus fund for sage sticks, for batteries, for any thing we need, even gas to get to the client's house.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. It says a lot, whenever you're doing it essentially to aid and benefit people rather than profit from people, because we've seen people be in dire straits before because of things otherworldly and outside of their control, and that's an admirable trait, man. So yeah, thank you, Mr. Graham. And you should, if you're in the West Virginia area, give this dude a call if there's some things going bump in the night.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, we don't really do home stuff like that. Like, what we do is we just investigate famous areas. We take in people's stories and stuff like that. We don't really dabble in the home invasions or purifications of homes or anything like that. So but we've met people who do, and that get big channels and stuff and end up milking people and stuff.
Yeah.
What's your name, sir?
Rick Sandoval.
Rick? Rick Sandoval? This is Rick Sandoval. We saw him eyeballing the signs. He said he's got a story in it. We're going to listen to him tell what a paranormal story?
Yeah.
Your death story?
So it all started when I had built a shop down in South Texas. It's considered One Army, Texas. A friend of mine stopped by, and he was drinking a beer, of course. He was pretty drunk. And I saw lightning come down from an oak tree, and it just shot into the ground. And I was like, what the heck is that, And we go over there, and I started looking up, and then I had seen the limb of an oak tree. Of course, they're pretty sturdy, right? And it moved down about so far, and then I started hearing wings, and I was like, what the heck is that, dude? And my buddy's freaking out. He's like, man, dude, you're starting to scare me, man. I was like, just calm down, It's like, after a while, I walked back to the front of the building. Then we see this creature, it was kind of like a dragon, and it flew from across the easement, and it just shot up in a 90-degree angle. He started screaming his head off. I'm like, dude, calm down, man. Somebody's gonna call the cops on us. It's like you're screaming your head off. And what I noticed, he was urinating. He urinated his pants. He was wearing khaki pants. And
he's scared.
Yeah, he was scared out of his wits, man. I was like, that was nothing new to me. I had seen a bunch of stuff before, and I was like, trying to calm him down. He threw his beer away and started pulling the truck out. Started getting stuck, so I helped him get out. As he's leaving, he's like, you're a witch. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? It's like, I'm not a witch. He goes, you made that happen. I was like, no, it just happened, dude. And he was like freaking out. So he's leaving and he's crying like a kid, And I was like, what just happened, and he looks back in his truck, he sticks his head out, and he goes, don't you ever come to my house? I want nothing to do with you. And I go 3 days later, I go to his house, and he completely moved out. You can see the front window, right through the backyard, he just completely moved out. Never saw him again.
So something of unknown origin.
Yeah.
Terrified him to the point where he skipped town.
Yeah, he just up and left. He took his family with him, everything. House was empty. So then 3 days go by, And my dad, I talked to my dad. My dad did a lot of Indian healing and stuff before. And he said, start digging in that area. There's something buried there. And I started to, and then I quit. I said, nah, just leave it alone. So the next day it rains, and it's nothing like it's a bunch of like sandy loam, what they call sandy loam. Yeah. And I was standing in the shop looking out, and I saw a spoon. I was like, man, these dang kids, they're leaving the spoons out, they're leaving them outside or whatever. So I walk over and I pick it up, and it's dated 1864 or something like that. I was all silver. I was like, wow, this is a fancy spoon. So I start walking the property. I have my Camaro up in the front, and I find another fork. And I had a real beautiful rose design. And then walked around back to the shop. As I was walking on the side of the house, how when you don't have the I forgot what they're called for the water to run off. As the water hit the ground, it was like cutting into the ground, right? And nothing but sandy loam. So I find another spoon, and I was like, what the hell? I found another spoon. I pick it up same date. So I go back in the house to the shop, and later on I told my wife that I was married to at the time. I was like, look what I found outside. They're like super old. I was like, wow, that's crazy. And then knowing that used to be a slave campground, and maybe it belonged to somebody who was pretty wealthy back in the times, and that's where they lived on that property. So as another day goes by, the neighbor kids are helping me clean the shop and do stuff. So I usually give them like $5 a piece, give them sodas, we sit outside. So I decided to do a barbecue. And I built this little miniature picnic table, and I was cooking, drinking my beer, and I saw a little boy sitting on a picnic table like this. And then I looked again, and he disappeared. I'm like, oh, where the heck did he go? It's like he just disappeared. And then minutes later, my wife runs out, all pale as a ghost. It's like, Rick, there's somebody in the house. I'm like, what are you talking about? I run inside with her, and I'm like, let's go check it out. There's somebody in the house, but he kind of looks like the hats that Abraham Lincoln used to use, and dressed like that with a cane. He said he was sitting down on a rocker, just rocking back and forth, watching me cook. I was like, what the hell? I went inside. There was nothing. Came back out. So a couple of days go by, and I was working on my buddy's car, and I was telling him about it, and he goes, "What did you take that's not yours?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Yeah, you found something that's not yours." I said, "Oh, dude," I said, "I found a spoon. Let me show them to you." And I showed them to him, and he goes, "You got to put them back and just say you're sorry. You dig the ground where you found it at, and just bury it. Tell them you're sorry. Leave it there. They'll leave you alone." So we were taking care of her grandkids, my wife's grandkids, and that night we were asleep. Her mom came and picked them up, her daughter, and I just stood up. All of a sudden, like something woke me up at 2 a.m. Just boom! I stood up, and I look at my clock, and it's like 2 a.m. And like that was weird. Like I'm not sleepy, I'm not tired. It's like something woke me up, and then all of a sudden, like there are hardwood floors in the house. And the house are up on poles or stilts, right, down in South Texas. It's not a concrete foundation, so you start hearing little footsteps running around in the living room, and all of a sudden I hear a voice saying, "I'm gonna get you." A little boy's voice, "I'm gonna get you," and the little girl goes, "No, you can't catch me." And they start running all around from the living room through the kitchen, down the hallway, across the bathroom, and out. And you can hear the little bitty footsteps, and you can hear giggling. "I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna get you." And the dogs start barking outside the door. They start scratching the door, trying to come in the house, and they're all barking out in the front door. My ex-wife she was crying, and I cover her mouth. I'm not like, just be quiet, just listen. And then seconds later, you hear them running around the house on the outside, and the dogs are chasing them. And then later on, they just go off the front, up the street, and over the hill, you hear the dogs barking all the way down the road, and everything was just still. So I took my buddy's advice, and I just buried the spoons, left them there. But after we left, I took them.
You went back and took them?
I took them. So that's when I later on I moved here to Wisconsin. But there's other stories that I can tell y'all.
So wait, but you took them. So did anything follow you?
That's what I'm thinking. They followed me.
Really?
So I've got some more stories. When I moved into Watertown, the house was built in 18 something. It was a 3-story house, and there's some pretty freaky stuff in there too. Because I was living alone.
So you got it's the silver spoon saga.
Yeah.
So you think everything kind of stemmed from your?
I'm gonna say yes at 100%. And I was telling a buddy of mine, we were sitting inside the house in Watertown, and she was like 12 or 13 years old, and she sits up to the sofa and crosses her fingers, and she goes, "Have you ever thought maybe they followed you?" I was like, "Oh my god!" I think that's what happened.
Yeah, we were just talking with somebody. What was it last night? Who they lost their grandfather, I think, in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And I mean, he died in Vietnam, but sure as shit, he showed up at their house. So I don't think spirits are like, oh, I gotta stay here, or oh, I gotta walk, or I don't have a ride. Yeah. I think they just can manifest. They just.
Yeah, I've seen stuff like that. I've seen a lot of stuff done in South Texas. And I've been told that I'm pretty sensitive to the spirits, so I can pick up stuff, quick. And it's like, and it's like I don't want it, but my cousin says you can't. It's not up to you to decide. He's like, you were born with that. Like I tell my cousin, I just want to be normal.
Yeah.
I don't.
I think everyone's born with it. It's just some people have an amplified signal, whether it be through some incident or like just bloodline or what have you. But some people, it's very loud. And some people, it's And some people, it's so quiet. And some people just don't care. You know? Yeah, totally. But yeah, man, thank you so much.
Yeah.
That was an awesome talent. I can't believe you took him. I
had seen y'all before. I was like, I gotta talk to these guys.
Yeah.
And it's like I'll let you in on some other ones that I've had experience.
So it's the Hellfire Holler podcast at gmail.com.
Yeah.
So you can write us in there, and we do that stuff every Friday.
So this next interview you're about to see is the last interview. It's with Emilio, and it is the guy who made all of the donations and things necessary to put the event on. So what he is about to say is pretty awesome. He is a not only an entrepreneur, but a dreamer and a very authentic person. So stay tuned for that last interview. We'd just like to remind you guys that you can go to hellfireholler.com, pick up some of our herbal products that might benefit your health and your longevity here on this plane of existence we call Earth. We have the top super chatter tonight. We'll get the Near Death Diary podcast shirt of the month.
The last of September.
It will be on black unless requested in gray, and then on the front it has our insignia here, which we have recently changed to black and white as well. You guys can pick that up, top super chatter of the night, in this long episode that we have. I have a feeling it might take people multiple watches to get through it, but hey, hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did. And we pulled all that off in a week.
A weekend.
Yeah, a weekend in a week's time, editing all this together. Give it up for Fog Gilly. Congratulations on becoming a very efficient editor rather quickly. If you guys like the content of the day, why don't you guys go leave us a comment, hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload, hit that subscribe button and that like button. It really helps us out in the algorithm. You can also hype this video. That makes a big difference. And also, we have plenty of other episodes for you guys to watch. If you need to play a little game of catch up, do some binge watching of our stuff. And we'd like to thank each and every one of you guys. If you want to go join our Patreon, we'll put that right here, Deadeye 2 Tongue 740. You guys can essentially sponsor this podcast, helping us achieve our goals, both content-wise and monetarily. And we appreciate you guys. We're going to put each one of our paying members at the end of this episode. You'll see your name on screen. Top tier, tier 3 are honorary members of our vampire hunting organization, V.A.G.I.N.A. And what an honor that is to stand amongst such beautiful vaginas. We love each and every one of you guys. Thank you so much. And we hope that you guys really enjoyed this content. And we are in the midst of working on our descent into October and what we want to do, seeing as this is really our time to shine. This is our time of year. Spooky season is among us, and we need to up the spooky ante. So if you would like to subscribe to our Patreon, we're also talking about doing live ghost hunts for our paid members. We have some gear and stuff that we want to take. The only thing really stopping us, we live in the country. We live in Appalachia. Most haunted, spooky places don't come with cell phone service. So we're narrowing down a few places that we really want to go and do some spooky nighttime haunts. We're going to bring you guys with us, so consider subscribing to our paid tiers if you would like to see that. Also, we didn't really nip much out of the interview, but we're going to be putting the full interview with Jessica Honda in our Patreon for those that want to watch the full interview. And we hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. Thanks for coming. Chat, how was it? How was the episode? Did you guys enjoy yourself? You guys always do. Thank you for sticking around with us this long. If you can, share this out on your socials. Help get some people to come and watch this with us and help this channel grow. So thank each and every one of you. Now, on to the last interview.
All right. So I am here with Emilio. He is the CEO and the creator of Cryptic Camp. And we wanted to give him a little bit of amplification to his voice, his message, and his creation. You guys sponsored this entire festival.
That's right.
Correct? So this is, you are in large part of the whole reason that this is a success this year.
Well, yeah, I didn't think about it like that, but yes, we're glad to contribute to it as best as we can, yeah.
Absolutely. So he does have, let's start with your spooky story.
Of course,
I feel like we should leave them with your creation afterwards. So
of course, yeah.
So, much like everybody else here, I approached and asked, hey, do you have any spooky paranormal stories, either good or bad? And he said, yes, he does have one. And that's what got us into this, long before I knew that he was a massive part of the creation of this festival. So let's dive into your spooky or uplifting paranormal story.
Of course. So I'm from Puerto Rico, and I grew up there. I was there until I was 25. And, when I was younger, probably around 8 years old, I had this memory that I couldn't speak about. And I'm still getting chills just even remembering.
Yeah,
because I would paralyze.
Really?
And I would cry. And I would just not be able to speak about it.
Oh, wow.
Through the years, I've delved more into my own spiritual path and my own sort of growth. And I've been able to talk more about it and be more open. It's still hard, right, as you can see. But I dismissed it as a memory, and then the more I acknowledge it, it was not, right? It was something an event that I do remember, regardless of what it means, right? And so it was one of those moments that you see yourself, right? So I was seeing myself in my bedroom, 8 years old, in a corner of the room, right? It's like some sort of projection or something.
Yeah, a lot of people say astral projection.
Astral projection, right? Yeah. I was looking at myself in bed, and it was nighttime. But I had these two glass bricks in my room, so light goes through them. But it was nighttime, but there was this intense light coming through. And then when I looked at me, I was talking with something. It was this not humanoid, like a mass of light.
So what color was the light?
It was a mix of golden yellow and just white.
Okay.
But then in the dream, I would feel at peace. I would feel protected. I would feel so well, right? Yeah. But talking about it freaks me out, and still to this day freaks me out. But to go further than that, in the dream, I'm talking to this entity, and I'm just questioning my placement, why am I here, sort of deal, right?
Yeah.
And that's all I can remember is just me being sort of not happy, and talking with this entity that felt safe, but for whatever reason I was looking at myself talking to it, and that's it. It's very short, but the powerful part is just that how much I couldn't even talk about it for so long.
Yeah.
And then once again, my own spiritual path and all this, like I've been able to talk more about it.
Yeah. So do you accredit that to like the inner workings of you in your mind, or do you exteriorly like it is in fact like it was an entity like that?
Well, I've never, so in my case, I don't go that deep in terms of determining what it was.
Yeah.
I just know that it was real for me, right?
Right.
Whether it was a projection or something of my mind, or whether it was a real entity, I have never sort of come to terms with this.
Right.
I just know that it was felt really real, right?
Yeah.
And whatever it is, I've been through a lot of people, different spiritual paths, and it's always linked to something more positive, right? It's not it's not a scary thing. It has to, I won't talk more about it because there's so many different ways to view the world.
Yeah.
But it's basically a connection to some sort of like a different dimension, right? Of more of light and love and compassion.
Yep.
So it's not negative, but it's whatever it was. It's definitely something that shaped me, and actually involves a lot of my company now.
Around what age was that?
8.
About 8 years old? Yeah. So, you know, the reason I asked you, whenever you said you had the color coming through, you know, even in the nighttime, you know, but there was strange light coming through, because I used to have, and I've talked about this in brief on my podcast, but I used to have, you know, I've written songs about it. Like I have a song that I was looking at one of my memories on, I think it was Facebook, you know, it was like posted 15 years ago, you know, called the Infinite Ladder, you know, and like whenever I was around 8 years old, I would have visitors that were, the best way I could describe it, beings of static.
Oh,
that appeared
okay,
to be like static and light. And they would come into my room, and they always came in, and whenever they were in my area, everything would be flooded with like a blue light.
Oh, blue light, okay.
Everything would be still. And I never felt unsafe around them. What I can say is what I felt they were always doing, especially, like, you know, it took me a long time to come to terms, much like you, and process all of that, and it was really difficult because it's just so unreal. And
of course.
For so long you feel like you can't talk about that with people without them thinking you're a lunatic. You know, so a lot of that culminates, but, you know, now in my later years, I reflect and I think that they were, in fact, helping calibrate my brain towards, like, you know, my purpose towards an experience that I was supposed to have. And yeah, so I definitely understand where you're coming from, and I hope that as time goes on, like, you know, that becomes something that, you know, you're very much so, you know, because, you know, right, just as you're about to start the story, you were like you could like tell, like, as you're getting to that part, and you're like, see, even now, like, I totally get that. I 100% get that.
It's very, it's still hard.
Yeah.
But I don't fear it. It just acknowledge the power. Right? It's different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that would be really wild. You know, we were talking about whether it's an entity or whether it's, you know, if that power, you know, is actually the power you
Of
hold,
course, it could be.
would be pretty amazing. But it looks like, though, with what you've done here with Cryptic Camp, that you are in fact someone who is at least powerful in your drive and your conviction towards an idea. So do you want to explain you know, how Cryptic Camp came along and what it is, and give the viewers at home something they can go you on social?
Yes, we have our own website, crypticcamp.com. We have Instagram at crypticcamp.com. Yeah, it's all at crypticcamp.com.
It's all Cryptic Camp.
Yes,
well, we're gonna put that information right here for you guys in post. So you can go and check out his, it's Emilio.
Yeah, Emilio.
Yeah, double Emilio.
And also double Soto, my last names. I'm Puerto Rican, right? So we use our mom and dad, and they're both Soto. So
really?
Emilio Soto.
That's great, that's awesome. But we're going to put Mr. Emilio's information right here. You guys can check him out, but give us a rundown of Cryptic Camp.
Very briefly, the reason why I created Cryptic Camp, right, is to create a safe space in which, first of all, traditional art, which everything we do is traditional art, but traditional art and the esoteric, both pop culture and more like spiritual and deeper aspects, right, coincide in something like a card game, like trading card games, card game like Pokemon, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, you name it, right? Yeah. But it pays more direct homage to the supernatural or the esoteric or the cryptid tellings and folklore history in a way that is more respectful. So sometimes, like, it is not that it's bad to like make a more pop cultural reference to these things, but it's sometimes simplified or discarded as something extreme. And that's not what I try to do. What I try to do is like, hey, this was the telling, right? It could be an entity, it could be a creature, it could be history. Doesn't matter. It's real because it lives in these communities. It lives in the Mothman Festival, in the Frogman Festival, in the podcast, and the content creators like yourself, right?
Yeah.
And all that community gives power, regardless of your definition of what's real, right?
Yeah.
So in Cryptic Camp, we're collecting all these stories from all over the world, from my home, like the Chupacabra and La Llorona, like Puerto Rican cryptids, and also Mothman, of course. We have Mothman, Loch Ness Monster, and this World of Cryptic Camp is a camp that has 8 cabins. Each cabin has an elemental affinity. It has a stone. So, for example, the obsidian cabin is associated with more darkness, but also with the destruction of the ego, right? So, like, it's telling us like every cabin has a sort of a little mantra that it also promotes people to think deeper about the mission of the cabin. And the obsidian cabin is like, may I master the ways to destroy the sources of suffering, which ties actually to a Buddhist prayer about destroying the sources of suffering for all living beings. So all my world has different connections to ways to train the mind, be more open, and also learn about more stories, and hopefully be inspired, right, to people to share their stories as I just shared mine, right? Because they exist, they're real, and some people want to find out the details exactly of how they're real, but I just want people to acknowledge those events in their life, learn about new ones, and build community. So we're in Mothman Festival. I interviewed Jeff, and I asked him, hey, big part of your work is connecting with people that don't want to talk about this, that are scared about it, and they don't want to be stigmatized as crazy or something like that. And we were gonna publish on our YouTube and in our Instagram about how did he walk that path, right? How does he make people feel comfortable, but also use their stories in a respectful manner that both are historically accurate to what happened and also like keep the story going, right?
Yeah,
so
totally.
That's a big mission of Cryptic Camp, and you can check us out at our website. We have even a quiz to check out what cabin you're part of.
That's awesome.
And
People
all
love
the
that.
information.
People love that stuff.
Yeah. Well,
So-
that's the summary of it. Yeah.
So this is like it's a tabletop game.
Yes, it's a collectible game, so we sell decks and stuff, so you can start playing.
Cool.
But you can also buy expansions that have randomization and serialized cards and all that. I'll just show to the screen real quick.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I have I have our binder here. So these are the 8. Let me finish it there. These are the 8 cabins, and you can learn more about them. But you see, they'll have a stone, an elemental affinity, and basically in camp you find your cabin, and different cryptids are associated with each cabin. For example, here we have Mothman, Kirin from Japan, La Llorona, Bigfoot, Snallygaster, Passabird, Loch Ness Monster, and many others that make up our world.
That is so cool.
Yeah, and we do custom hollows. We do a lot to also for it to be collectible.
Yeah.
But to carry the stories as much as possible.
That is amazing. I'm gonna get some more shots of that because that is really, really.
Of
neat.
course, yeah.
And how long have you guys been doing this?
1 year.
1 year.
Yeah.
And so far, I mean,
It's been growing. I mean, we're sponsoring the festival because we have the funds to be able to put back to the community.
yeah,
right?
that's what I was about to say. I mean, it's impressive that in 1 year you guys are already, kind of you're aiding and assisting a community, but very much so, with the same kind of, the same kind of pulse as the game you're playing.
Yes.
But here you are, within a year, elevating communities and whatnot with your dream. So, I mean, I definitely say that power that you felt, it's definitely within you and it's coming out. So yeah, big shout out to the Cryptic Camp.
Yeah,
I think I'm gonna have to go and get a deck so I can play around with these.
Actually, I have here. I can give it to you. This is actually Visions of Mothman.
Oh,
this
good.
is 9 variations of Mothman based on elements like fire or space
really?
or whatever, right? And also real moths. So once again, we're intermingling people that like to collect bugs,
Yeah.
people that like Mothman, and an esoteric world in which they come together. So it's a
Oh,
first
wow.
Cryptic Camp product, I guess.
Hey, that's
So,
awesome. Guys, check it out. I
yeah.
got my first deck, and you said it's the Mothman.
The Visions of Mothman, yeah.
Wow.
Once
okay.
again, like we are promoting that there's different levels of perception.
Yeah.
And we can see many different things, even though maybe the root is the root is this Mothman, the Mothman tellings,
Yeah.
but so much more can come out of it. Yeah.
Well, this is absolutely incredible. And I'm going to wait until I'm in the car to open this. And then, does it come with instructions?
Oh, so this is more like a premium product that you have a low selection of cards, right? Like, so it's very limited to the 9 Mothmans and 9 moths. And a can of beans per pack, just as an offering to Mothman.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people offering Mothman beans. It's like a tradition.
Exactly. So yeah, you see, but the product incorporates a lot of like traditional, right, folklore, but also like the can of beans is because of a game. So it's a recent thing, but we also incorporate it because it's all part of that tapestry of the folklore.
That is awesome, dude. Well, I am still going to come down and get a deck because I think me and Cody, we're just, I'm just going to say it, nerdy enough to love this type of stuff. You know, big Magic the Gathering fans. Pokemon,
me too. Yeah.
Back in the day, you know. So we're going to have to get a deck and then have me and Cody play. You know, and then we'll put that on our Patreon. But yeah, dude, Emilio, this was absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time, and thank you for sponsoring this festival so everybody can have a good time and enjoy themselves.
Yeah, we did a great job, and we are a small team, but we have a lot of heart.
Yeah, man. Well, we'll get in touch, and we're going to try to amplify your voice as much as we can to almost our million subscribers across all platforms. So we're going to try to give you guys a nice shout out, a nice push. And I'm going to tell my kiddo about this too because he has the ability to get many of his friends playing games as well.
Well,
you know,
as long as you all know, right, this is more than just a product or a way to cash grab on the stories. I'm trying to build here something that amplifies the stories, keeps them true, right? Keeps traditional art that is disappearing as we speak. So if you believe in any of that, we'll love your support.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We in fact did. So thank you so much, dude.
Thank you.
I'll get some B-roll of those cards and everything.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, man, thank you so much for the interview. It was awesome. It was a pleasant conversation. And I'm sure the people at home really enjoyed it too.
I hope so. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, the Mothman 2025 Festival is winding down and coming to an end. Many of the vendors are packing up, but many of them are sticking around as of right now. So we're still trying to get some stories while we can. The iconic elements of the festival, like standing in line to put beans at the foot of the Mothman statue, that's died down quite a bit. The line to the museum has gone kaput. So I think everybody, there's got to be having a rough day. The Mothman himself in the black wool suit. Yeah, he's taking the last of his pictures. But we got a lot of really good stories. A lot, you know. And I'm thinking that being able to do these stories, you know, step into any kind of environment and or arena. Did you?
Yeah, that's fine.
You drop that, huh? I wish I could help you. I cannot stop the wind.
You're fine. You can just throw it somewhere.
Here, I'm gonna put that.
That'll work. Thank you.
You're very welcome. But yeah, I think doing these stories and going places and realizing that, you know, every place and every person has a story or a unique experience. You know, there were so many people like, well, I don't really have any spooky, you know, experiences, you know, and it's like, well, there was this one time though that my grandfather came through from the other side. We want to hear those too, you know. And it's fun. It's nice to go out here. It's nice to engage people. It's nice to talk to people and get their firsthand experience, especially places like this where the acceptance of cryptids, you know, like with that already, you know, not needing to be stated. Everyone here in one way or another, you know, is open to the idea of some sort of paranormal. So it tends to pull, you know, the stories along with that acceptance out from people, you know, so it makes story farming much easier. But I'm going to go through and see if I can't get a few more stories from the group here, and then probably hit the road to put all this together and edit. Well, that was an eventful day.
We saw so many Mothmen and Mothwoman.
Yeah, the Mothwoman, she was pretty cool. I mean,
Was that a furry?
That was like 80%. And
Like-
then once it got to the head, it was a moth.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't like pick up furry vibes. I picked up more of like, you know, like this is a Mothman costume.
I did see a furry earlier.
Yeah. Pretty wild day. Thank you guys for joining. I am your host, Deadeye Two Tongues. With me, as always, is the faithful Fog Gilly. Thank you guys for tuning in to another IRL investigation here on the Near Death Diary podcast. We air our podcast 8 p.m. on Fridays. So stick around for the next one. Hit that subscribe button, that like button, hit the notification bell, leave us a comment so we know how we're doing. We love each and every one of you. Cody, you got anything to say?
It'll be October soon.
Very, very soon. And we got to get to work on providing you guys with amazing content. So we're going to go do that. In the meantime, check out these amazing members of our Patreon. You can see our Patreon right here in case you'd like to support us. Guys, we love each and every one of you. We hope you stay spooky. We hope you stay strapped. We hope you stay wild.